Chapter 5200. Xiao Mu hummed an acknowledgement before saying with a nod, I know that a curse has been cast on your divine conscious, so there's a defensive barrier outside your conscious. Whenever you're threatened by an external force, being searched, or being suppressed by a dictum talisman, you'll automatically choose to explode your soul. Arbor looked at her calmly. This technique reminds me of Shinta Jing. Shinta Jing once said that the barrier in her conscious was set up by Grand State Preceptor Li La. Now I have reason to suspect that this Li La is related to your radiant light. Or let me put it this way, does your radiant light belong to Tianyun? No. How can our radiant light belong to Tianyun? We're against Tianyun. When we joined the organization, we swore that Tianyun and I cannot coexist together. The radiant light saintess shook her head repeatedly and hurriedly explained. Arbor really didn't believe the person in front of her at all. She grabbed her hair and pinched her face without pity. She asked word by word, You're called Yuan Maui? Yuan Maui was really scared. This little crown princess in front of her was like a devil that had crawled up from hell. When her 5 ice-cold fingers pinched her face, the radiant light saintess felt a chill quickly climbing up from the bottom of her heart. It was so cold that she couldn't help but shiver. She nodded with tears and snot flowing down her face. She started to regret accepting this mission to provoke this ghost crown princess. No wonder there were so many people present at that time. Even if she exposed the close relationship between the crown princess and Tianyun's upper echelons, no one dared to question this little crown princess. This was probably because they had long been subdued by this little crown princess's terrifying methods. Crown princess, please let me go, crown princess. The way the little crown princess smiled coldly at her was filled with endless, eerie coldness. It was terrifying to look at. I'll tell you everything I know. As long as it's something Crown Princess wants to ask, I'm willing to tell you. That would be great. Arbor nodded and loosened his grip on the saintess' hair. Tell me, where did you hide the seed fragments? This was what she wanted to know the most. As for the rest, they were all trivial matters. Seed fragments, hide. No, I didn't hide them. Yuan Maui hurriedly shook his head, revealing a cautious expression. The Crown Princess is wise. This lowly one is definitely not lying. It's true. Although this lowly one doesn't understand what the Crown Princess means, this lowly one doesn't know. But for what the Crown Princess said, it should be Wait, listen to me. I'm done. Yuan Maui's eyes widened in fear. She hurriedly used both hands to support herself on the edge of the wooden barrel to ensure that her head wouldn't be pressed down and come into intimate contact with the thing in the barrel. Speak. Arbor didn't want to waste any more words with her and bluntly asked, Speak clearly. Yes, it's this lowly one who doesn't dare to lie to the Crown Princess. Yuan Maui answered honestly. That holy fruit is as I know. This was what she was worried about. This holy fruit didn't seem to be fake, but it was an imperfect half-finished product. It seemed to have been produced by external forces. Xiao said that the last seed fragment contained the power of the wood spirit's origin, which surpassed all the previous fragments. Chapter 5201. As such, it wasn't strange for someone to produce a semi-finished holy fruit. But the problem was that the fruit produced by these people with brute force was only 1/10 of the original holy fruit. Furthermore, such a barbaric method would only inflict significant damage to the holy wood fragment. There was no benefit to it at all. Xiao was worried that the fragment of the holy wood was on the verge of death, which was why its aura was so faint. She was very anxious to know what happened to the fragment. When she interrogated the holy maiden Yuan Maui, she did not show mercy at all. She did not mind using the most vicious method to pry the whereabouts of Xiao's fragment out of this woman's mouth. This concerned her most important partner, so this matter could not be neglected or sloppy. Yuan Maui swallowed her saliva and said, The fragment was collected by our radiant light saint, and I was only fortunate to have worn this fragment for a few days. So it left a trace of its aura and was detected by you. At this point, Yuan Maui's eyes flickered slightly. Basically, Everyone in Tianyun knows what I have in my hands. Everyone knows that not only do I have holy water, but I also have the holy wood. You should know this too, right? You deliberately let me detect the aura of the holy wood fragment. But what I want to know is, what makes you think that I will compromise and ask you for the location of the holy wood fragment? She glanced at her indifferently. Holy Maiden of Radiant Light, let me ask you again. Do you belong to Tianyun? The Holy Maiden of Radiant Light immediately shook her head as if she had been insulted, flatly denying, No, no. Our Radiant Light has nothing to do with Tianyun. The reason why our organization could grow is all because we gathered together to maintain the peace of the three continents, create prosperity together, and attack Tianyun. Arbor curled her lips. You almost made me believe you. Unfortunately, she did not believe a single word this woman said. Say, if I use you as bait, would your saint be willing to take out the holy wood fragment in exchange? Yuan Maui hurriedly shook her head like a rattle drum. No, impossible, impossible. She shook her head and said, The fragment is in the hands of the sage. The sage values the fragment more than his life. How could he exchange it for me? Arbor couldn't help but laugh. He raised his hand and patted Yuan Maui's face. There are exceptions to everything, aren't there? Yuan Maui felt that the little crown princess's hand was as cold as a dried-up bone in the depths of a cold lake. She couldn't help but shiver a few times. She really couldn't understand the young crown prince consort at all. What did she mean by that? I heard that the headquarters of the Radiant Light is located in an abandoned temple in the western suburbs of Dragonflame City. Yuan Maui did not know where the little crown princess's hearsay came from. In fact, not many people in the outside world knew the location of their headquarters. Ever since it was set up in the temple, other than the members of the temple, no outsiders had ever entered or exited. The little crown princess was able to find out the location of the Zhaoguang headquarters overnight, which made Yuan Maui shudder uncontrollably. She didn't know whether to say that the crown princess was powerful or that the crown prince was powerful. The methods of this couple were truly frightening. Chapter 5202. She now recalls the crown prince's pair of ice, pearl-like phoenix eyes coldly staring at her yesterday. Thinking about that scene, she can't help but shiver. She, Yuan Maui, must really be tired of living. She was actually so stupid to accept such a stupid mission, walking right into a trap and sending herself to the Qiao estate's front door. Right now, she really has the heart to die. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have listened to other people's urging. They even said that after completing this mission, there would definitely be a special reward when they return. What reward? Her little life is about to be lost because of her. Say, what do you think Tianyun is planning? Supporting you, the Radiant Light, carrying the banner, winning over the hearts of the people everywhere. What is he trying to do? Is he trying to collect more experimental subjects? Arbor faintly looks at this radiant saintess. Yuan Maui shrinks back in fright. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll talk. Seeing that her hands are about to be forcefully thrown into the barrel of bliss, Yuan Maui screams in fright and hurriedly says, I swear, I really don't know the relationship between Tianyun and the Radiant Light. I'm just an orphan girl. Since I was young, I didn't have any other skills. I was picked up by someone. The saint said that I'm smart and quick-witted, more than enough to be a saintess. What I do every day is to feed that piece of sacred wood fragment. It's true. Every word I say is absolutely not false. Crown Princess, it's true. Feed? Arbor's eyes are incomparably cold. What do you use to feed? Use blood. The saint told me to feed the fragment a drop of blood every 3 days. I just did it. Seeing the little crown princess fly into a rage, looking like she wants to give her 2 slaps, Yuan Maui hurriedly begs for mercy. I also don't know. The saint told me to do it. I just did it. Crown Princess, spare me. Crown Princess, spare me. This time, the saint gave me a mission. He wants me to bring people to the Qiao residence to make a scene. It would be best if we could blow up the matter of you and Tianyun so that everyone knows about it and become famous in the 3 continents. Who knew that this crown prince consort was such a stubborn person? She didn't even have the chance to make a fuss before she was directly dragged off to the capital magistrate's prison. She really had 18 lifetimes of bloody misfortune on her. At this moment, this Yuan Maui no longer had the ethereal aura of a saintess. She had the appearance of a scoundrel. She cupped her hands and hurriedly said to the young crown princess, "Crown princess, spare my life. Crown princess, spare my life. I, Yuan Maui, am actually just a hooligan on the streets. Being the saintess of this nuisance is just to make a living. Please let me go. I swear, I won't dare to come to your house to cause trouble again." Even if she had 180 times the courage, she wouldn't dare to go to the Qiao estate to cause trouble again. Wasn't he just making a ruckus and almost losing his life? Arbor sized her up and looked at her thoughtfully for a while. "That maid by your side? All right. You're talking about Han Su. She was sent by the saint to my side. She knows more than me. She told me to do everything." This saintess of bright lights' pig brain didn't seem to be very bright. Only when the young crown princess mentioned it did she have a flash of inspiration. If there was a problem, she could let her maid, Han Su, take over. That's right, this Han Su was the one sent by the saint to only know her. Chapter 5203. Everything has nothing to do with me, Crown Princess, Yuan Maui begged bitterly. "I beg you, Crown Princess, please let this lowly one off. You can treat this lowly one as a fart and let him go like this." Arbor stared expressionlessly at the woman who was kneeling on the ground and kowtowing repeatedly. It was really hard to imagine that at the 100-day banquet yesterday, in front of everyone, this woman was actually a fairy who had descended from the heavens, like a holy light descending from the heavens. With such a scoundrel appearance, if anyone were to see it, they would definitely be taken aback. When Han Su was brought up, she was struggling with all her might. Her pair of eyes were as big as copper bells, and she was charging around like a calf, unwilling to give in. "Holy maiden, what are you doing?" When she saw Yuan Maui lying limp on the ground, Han Su was so angry that her eyes widened, and she scolded, "Holy maiden, stand up for me. Why are you lying on the ground like this? Our Zhaowang's face has been completely thrown away by you." Yuan Maui said angrily, "I'm the one who's going to be killed by you all. If you didn't make me go to the Qiao estate's entrance to act out that scene, how could I possibly be so unlucky? Isn't it good for me to stay at home and eat well? Why would I have to suffer in prison? Han Su, you are the ones who made me do this. Explain yourself to the crown prince consort. Don't drag me down with you." Han Su couldn't help but laugh at her scoundrel appearance. This woman was originally recruited by the organization because of her beauty and the fact that it was a little interesting when she pretended to be a holy maiden. But now, she was covered in grease from head to toe and looked like an Annie on the streets. Even the only advantage of her beauty was gone. It's still hard to say who's dragging who down with you. Han Su couldn't help but scold. If the organization wasn't kind enough to take in a wandering beggar like you back then, would you be able to eat well and drink well? Right now, you're still on the streets with a family of beggars, continuing to starve. Why don't you think about who gave you the good days you're having now? Your whole family can live in a big house and eat white rice now. Who gave you the benefits? You're really an ingrate. Now that something has happened, all you want to do is shirk responsibility. What did you say? Han Su, you damn girl, you actually dare to speak to me like this. Yuan Maui pounced forward furiously, each pouncing accurately. Unfortunately, this person was also quite comical. How could he be Han Su's match when he was so weak? She was slapped to the ground by Han Su. Arbor couldn't be bothered to watch the two of them fight, so he gave a look to the two secret guards beside him. He ordered his men to drag the two of them away and throw them to the side. Han Su cursed and kicked Yuan Maui again and again. Yuan Maui, who had his hair pulled and beaten by Han Su, looked even more miserable now. If an outsider did not mention it, at first glance they would really think that she was a beggar on the street. How could they connect her with the glamorous holy maiden of bright light from yesterday? Arbor was speechless as he looked at the two of them. With a wave of his hand, he had someone bring in Aunt Fei, whom he had met yesterday. From the looks of it, Yuan Maui and Han Su weren't as calm as Aunt Fei. Arbor couldn't be bothered with them and turned to talk to Aunt Faye. This Aunt Faye's personality was rather calm, and she answered very quickly. Chapter 5204. No matter what Arbor asked, she would obediently answer. It seemed like she was really cooperating. Aunt Faye was very clear that she had to cooperate. If she didn't, she could only cooperate. After all, the life and death of her group was in the hands of the little crown princess. And she, Aunt Faye, admitted that she wasn't that old. After so many years, she still hadn't lived enough. Naturally, she didn't want to die in this capital governor's residence for no reason. This servant used to be a member of the Pill Hall. Aunt Faye answered very honestly. It was only because I had to help cultivate the sacred wood that I was transferred to the Radiant Light. Arbor had already guessed that the Radiant Light and Heavenly Fortune were related. Now that he heard Aunt Faye's words, he once again confirmed his guess. Who didn't know about the flying heaven, burrowing earth, plucking stars, concealing moon, chasing sun hall? Adding in the Talisman Incantation Hall and the Pill Hall, Heavenly Fortune had a complete set of pill talisman techniques. Hansu is also a member of the Pill Hall, Aunt Faye said. Hearing this, Hansu's face instantly darkened. Aunt Faye, are you tired of living? However, Aunt Faye only said indifferently, I've never been tired of living. Everything I do is to save my own life. Save your own life? Hansu couldn't help but sneer. Aren't you worried that you'll be punished by others if you speak too much nonsense now? I'm worried. Aunt Faye nodded. But what did I say? I only told the Crown Princess that I'm a member of the Pill Hall. She didn't clearly state where the Pill Hall belonged to. Hansu was so angry that she laughed. She stared coldly at Aunt Faye. The saint said that you're not of the same mind as us. Sure enough, he wasn't wrong. From the start, you never thought of working together with us. Then this old servant advises you not to be so stupid as to cause trouble at the Chiao estate. Did you all listen to my advice? Aunt Faye smiled and shook her head. I already said that there wouldn't be a good ending. Also, I didn't receive any orders from above to go to the Chiao estate to put on such a strange show. Hansu was furious. This was an order from the saint, an order directly given to me. What? You don't even care about saints now, do you? Aunt Faye only shook her head and said faintly, I can guarantee that even if the two of you return after completing the mission, you'll be cleaned up. Do you believe me? Hansu couldn't help but shudder. Her entire body trembled. Then, she raised her eyes and glared at Aunt Faye. Don't make irresponsible remarks and threaten others. I won't be scared out of my wits just because you say a few words. Aunt Faye smiled and shook her head. Is that so? In fact, she was also very curious as to why the saint had given Hansu such an order. Just how great was the enmity between the saint and the young crown prince consort that he actually planned such a great show to ruin her reputation. Unfortunately, the little crown princess was still a powerful character. Such a small trick would not be able to make things difficult for her. In the end, the only ones who were at a disadvantage were the people from the Radiant Light Empire. The little crown princess had caught them by the tail and would never let them go again. The light was exposed. In the western suburbs of Dragon Flame City, in an inconspicuous and dilapidated temple. Looking at the man sitting at the top, who was silently turning the teacup in his hand, Gu Yishuan hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed several times. Chapter 5205. Family Head, what this lowly one said is all true, all true. I have the jade recording talisman as proof. Qin Hong glanced at him, and a man with a gloomy face standing beside him walked forward a few steps. He lifted Gu Yishuan up from the ground and snatched the jade talisman that he presented. Zhao Yi's words sounded from the jade talisman. Act tonight. Don't worry, junior sister. I will definitely get this heaven and earth reversal talisman for you. Wait for my good news. Qin Mu snorted. Go inform Luo, and tell him to be careful of the traitor. Yes. The gloomy man, Zi Qin, turned and cupped his hands at family head Qin. He was about to stride out the door. Suddenly, the door was kicked open, and a gust of cold wind blew in, blowing up the broken branches and leaves on the ground of the ruined temple. Second young master, what are you doing? Scram. Without another word, Qin Xian gave Qin Grass a heavy slap on the face and pushed him to the side. Qin Grass was furious. He raised his hand to cover his left cheek and narrowed his eyes at the second young master's back. His gaze was full of hatred. His dissatisfaction with this second young master rose again and spread like weeds. The second young master was indeed very condescending. He was so rude and unreasonable to him, the number one eunuch by family head Qin sighed. His attitude of being at his beck and call clearly treated him, Qin Grass, as a mere dog. Despicable. Young Master Omega Katoka strode in. Behind him, eunuch Wang Chung dragged a person in his hand like he was dragging a dead dog. There was a loud bang. Wang Chung smashed the person he was dragging to the ground, eliciting a pained cry. Family head Qin, who was sitting at the head of the table, stared coldly at the scene before him with a dark expression. With a deep shout, family head Qin forcibly suppressed the anger that surged into his heart. Second brother, what are you doing? Eldest young Sir Qin, who didn't mind the commotion, chuckled as he strode through the door. He cocked his head and stood at the side, unruffled in the midst of chaos, obediently becoming a spectator. He didn't say anything and just looked at his father with a faint smile on his face. When family head Qin saw his expression, he became even angrier. Both of his sons were very outstanding, but the problem was that they had never truly treated him as their father. No matter what they did, they had to go against him, as if everything he did to them was wrong. Damn it! Family head Qin calmly glanced at his two sons before his gaze landed on the man lying on the ground and wailing. The man's legs were crippled, and he was now lying there half-drooping, like a dying dog. Why did you drag Patriarch Mu here? Qin asked coldly. Oh my, is this really the Mu family head of our dignified talisman aristocratic family? Ayaya, long time no see, you've really changed a lot. A light laughter came from his side. Family head Qin coldly glanced over. Deputy Hall Master Tu Wei, who was originally standing at the side, couldn't help but purse her lips and shut her mouth. It's been a while since I saw this Mu family head. He really is a capable person. Despite having two crippled legs, he can still work for his master. He really is a good dog blessed by the heavens. Tu Wei inwardly laughed and sized up Mu Jingfeng, who was half lying on the ground. Compared to his previous spirited and handsome appearance, this Mu Jingfeng was currently as shabby as an old man who picked up scraps on the streets. Oh my, this down-and-out appearance. Chapter 5206. If it weren't for the fact that his eyes were somewhat similar, Vice Hall Master Tu Wei simply wouldn't dare to recognize this person. In the past, Mu Jingfeng could be considered to be a good-looking man, but now, TSK, she couldn't bear to look at him. Mu Jingfeng was also considered a member of their Hidden Moon Hall. However, ever since the previous failure to encircle and annihilate the Mu family and Mu Jingfeng's legs were burned by His Highness the Crown Prince, Tu Wei no longer had any intention of making use of this cripple. What good was a man whose legs were crippled and could no longer stand up useful? Speaking of which, she had always left him in some corner of the Hidden Moon Hall and didn't care about him for so long. If she didn't see him again today, she wouldn't even remember where he died. Unexpectedly, this Mu Jingfeng still had some tricks up his sleeve. From the looks of it, who knew when he defected to Master? Tu Wei was a little dissatisfied. This Mu Jingfeng defected to Master, yet he didn't even tell her. She had wasted a lot of mutation pills for him previously. Mu Jingfeng was like a bug as he struggled to crawl on the ground, trying to roll to family head Qin's feet. However, under young Master Omega Katoku's gaze, Mu Jingfeng stepped forward. Huang Cheng took 2 steps forward and stepped on Mu Jingfeng's back, preventing him from moving forward. Second brother, what are you doing? Qin Hong glared at young Master Omega Katoku in displeasure, his eyes filled with dissatisfaction. This son of his was truly becoming more and more outrageous. As the saying goes, even if you want to beat a dog, you still have to look at the face of its owner. Family head Qin would also feel that he had lost a lot of face for treating his subordinate like this in front of him. Qin Chao couldn't help but shout excitedly, Second young master, don't go overboard. No matter what, Mu Jingfeng is now considered master subordinate. Aren't you afraid of chilling the hearts of your subordinates by doing this? Young Master Omega Kitoku gave Qin Chao another slap across the air, directly slapping him back a few steps and heavily knocking into a Buddhist statue covered in dust. Cough, cough, cough. Qin Chao clutched his chest and coughed heavily a few times. He felt that young Master Omega Kitoku's palm strike was as heavy as 1,000 caddies, as if a huge mountain was covering him. His chest was about to split open. Fisk, why don't you just stay by the side? Why do you have to talk so much nonsense? Eldest young master waved the fan in his hand and added with a smile. Qin Grass secretly clenched his teeth, clutching his chest that was about to shatter. He coughed heavily a few times and retreated. Family head Qin's eyes involuntarily narrowed. Filled with anger, he glared at his son and said, "What are you going to do?" "Father, I told you not to provoke her." Family head Qin was furious. "How did I offend her? Which eye of yours saw me provoking him? On the other hand, the Imperial Court has been suppressing us, the Heavenly Fate Society, every day. They've even found a way to seal our entire Qin estate and moved everything from our house into the National Treasury." Fortunately, he had long made arrangements. Before the Crown Prince and the young Crown Princess returned to Dragon Flame City from the River of Forgetfulness, he had already ordered people to move all of the estate's valuables back to the headquarters. Even so, those large items, as well as property deeds, were all confiscated. Their losses were disastrous, not to mention that His Highness the Crown Prince was like a mad dog, leading people to search their Qin estate's shops in the capital all day long. It caused their Qin family to be unable to make ends meet, and all of their valuable shops were completely sealed. Chapter 5207. If not for Tianyun's deep foundation and having businesses all over the 3 continents, even cash flow would be a problem right now. Fortunately, those pill and talisman shops could not all be closed. These shops were still relatively profitable. Qin Hong was absolutely indignant at his son's words. Who would provoke that god of plague every day for no reason? It was already extremely fortunate that they were not provoked. All right. Young Master Omega Kitoku looked coldly at his father. Still denying it, Xiang Chong kicked Mu Jingfeng's body, causing him to tremble in pain as he cried out in a trembling voice, "Yes, yes, yes. And Master, save me, Master. Master." Qin Hong scolded with a cold face. "Enough. Number 2, what exactly are you trying to say? Why did you send him to do that kind of senseless thing?" "What senseless thing? Speak clearly," Qin was said angrily. Eldest young Master Qin raised his hand to Yan and whispered, Father, don't be afraid to admit what you did. Didn't you send family head Mu to bring people from Zhaowang to the Qiao family to cause trouble?" Qin Hong was silent for a moment before saying coldly, "Jingfeng, what's going on?" Mu Jingfeng sprawled there like a puddle of mud as he cried out tearfully, "And Master, it has nothing to do with me. Master, this, Before he could finish speaking, Wang Chung kicked him in the head. Young Master Omega Kitoku said coldly, "The facts are all there. You already admitted it earlier. What, you want to go back on your words in front of Father?" "And no, it's not." Mu Jingfeng shook his head repeatedly and tried to crawl forward with all his might, but his back was stepped on, so he could not crawl forward. It was indeed me. I sent the Holy Maiden to the Qiao residence to teach that evil girl, Arbor, a lesson. Right, since Master handed Zhaoguang to him to manage, as the Saint of Zhaoguang, with such great authority, why couldn't he seek some benefits for himself? She deserved it. That evil little girl deserved it. Did he do anything wrong? What did he do wrong? His mistake was to give birth to such a rebellious daughter who had no ancestral teachings and had no father in her eyes. If Arbor hadn't gone overboard, he wouldn't have ended up like this. His good son-in-law had used the black fire to burn off his 2 legs, forcing him to struggle at death's door in this world. Was it too much for him to ask someone to ruin this evil woman's reputation? This was retribution. She deserved this. What a hateful woman. She had captured all of Saint Zhaoguang and her entourage. He had even arranged such a big show, but it didn't hurt her at all. Damn it, damn it, damn it. He knew his daughter too well. She was not a person who liked to explain. He asked Sacred Maiden Zhaoguang to bring a group of people to the Qiao residence to cause a ruckus, publicly pointing out that this evil woman was related to the upper echelons of Tianyan. Haha, in that case, he wanted to see her fall from grace and have a miserable ending. He did not want her to have a good life. What? He had already been harmed so miserably by that couple. Was it wrong to take revenge once? What did go wrong? Damn evil girl. Why didn't she get a retribution? She treated her father like this. She deserved to fall from grace and die without a burial place. Wang Cheng kicked him a few times. Under the second young master's signal, he withdrew his foot from Mu Jingfeng's back. Chapter 5208. Father, you've heard clearly. Qin Hong coldly stared at his son and said after a while, although Jingfeng acted on his own initiative, this matter doesn't affect our Tianyun at all. How can it not affect us, father? Eldest young Sir Qin blinked and said, this Mu Jingfeng acted on his own initiative and dragged Zhao Wang's men to the little stoic. Do you know? The little stoic has already guessed that Zhao Wang is one of our people. Impossible. How is it impossible, father? Eldest young Sir Qin rolled his eyes. He truly didn't want to ridicule his old father's stupidity. The little stoic is very quick-witted. Do you think she doesn't know anything? As long as you reveal even the tiniest bit in front of her, she'll immediately know. She'll be able to follow the clues to find out everything. Qin Hong was rather disapproving of his son's high praise. He coldly glanced at Mu Jingfeng before shifting his gaze to eldest young Sir Omega Kitoku. What do you want to say? Mu Jingfeng acted on his own initiative to avenge a personal grudge and use the organization to do things, causing Zhao Guang to be exposed in front of others. Father, I hope you can punish this person immediately. Punish? Mu Jingfeng panicked on the spot and hastily waved his hands, shouting repeatedly, in no way. And master, you can't punish me. I sincerely work myself to the bone for the organization. I absolutely don't have any other intentions. Father, eldest young Sir Qin chuckled and said, you're right to punish him. This Mu Jingfeng can't accomplish anything and is good at spoiling things. I feel that there's really not much use in keeping him. And no, I have uses. Mu Jingfeng hastily crawled forward and prostrated himself on the ground, repeatedly kowtowing to Qin Hong. Master, spare my life. Master, spare my life. I won't dare to act on my own initiative in the future. I will listen to everything. Obey master's orders. Qin Hong grunted and nodded faintly. Mu Jingfeng can't die for the time being. I still have some use for him. Eldest young Sir Omega Kitoku's gaze instantly turned frosty. Oh, is it to deal with her again? Family head Qin flew into a rage on the spot and slapped the armrest heavily. The armrest of a good sandalwood stool was immediately smashed into ashes, raising a cloud of dust that fell to the ground. I don't need you to meddle in my business, Family head Qin said angrily. You two brothers should mind your own business. As for my future arrangements, you don't need to care about them. Qin said coldly. Don't forget that I'm now in charge of the Hidden Moon Hall. Mu Jingfeng is my subordinate. If you want to beat or kill him, you have to leave it to me. Omega Kitoku smiled coldly. Is that so? Seeing that the father and son were about to quarrel again, eldest young master smiled and waved his fan, saying, all right, as a son, it is inconvenient for me to interfere in my father's matters. Second brother, don't be so stubborn. Let's go first. As an old father, he also wanted face. Of course, he would protect Mu Jingfeng no matter what, lest he lose face in front of his two sons. As for this Mu Jingfeng, he could still quietly deal with him the next day. There is no need for him to have a direct conflict with his father at this time and put both parties in an awkward position. Second young master coldly glanced at Mu Jingfeng. With just one glance, Mu Jingfeng's entire body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Second young master's gaze was as cold as a venomous snake, making him feel guilty and afraid. Chapter 5209. He had a nagging feeling that this second young master, who was as gloomy as a ghost, would not let him have an easy time in the future. He wondered if it was just his imagination. Eldest young master was very good-natured, however. He beamed at Mu Jingfeng and glanced at the subordinate beside her. What? Why are you still in a daze? Hurry and help family head Mu up. That subordinate hastily stepped forward and was about to reach out to help Mu Jingfeng up, but Mu Jingfeng kept dodging him. He could not trust anyone now and was unwilling to let anyone near him. He glanced at Qin Hong with some trepidation. At a time like this, only family head Qin could save his life, so he had to firmly cling on a family head Qin's thigh. Qin Hong swept him a glance and waved his hand. Take him away. Mu Jingfeng still wanted to brush off other people's hands, but he dropped the idea under family head Qin's glare. His entire body was carried away listlessly, and he resented Crown Prince Mo for ruining his legs again. If not for that good son-in-law of his, would he have fallen to such a miserable state today? Jing Hong, you're begging me, family head Qin said coldly. When do you plan on letting Qingya go? Young Master Omega Katoku did not utter a word and turned to leave. Family head Qin was so angry that his eyes turned vertical as he loudly rebuked, "Stop right there!" However, young Master Omega Katoku did not seem to hear him and left without even looking back, leaving behind family head Qin, who was angrily clutching the armrest on the other side. The armrest turned into ashes once again in this family head's hands. Eldest young Master Qin giggled and waved his hand. Since there's nothing else, this son will take his leave first. Eldest wait, family head Qin bellowed. This son of hers, one after another, always made her worry. Eldest young Master Qin turned back to look at him in shock and asked in confusion, "Does father have any other instructions?" Recently, our underground base has been heavily raided by the Crown Prince of China. Have you thought of any countermeasures to deal with it? Eldest young Master Qin tapped his head with his small golden fan. This son hasn't thought of anything yet. This son will think about it later and inform father. Qin Yi's hands trembled with anger. Yes, father. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. After saying this, eldest young Sir Qin hurriedly slipped away. What kind of joke was this? Was this something he could come up with? Why is he oppressing his son instead of looking for a solution to the problem that the elder ancestor entrusted to his father? He really shouldn't have done that. When eldest young master stepped out of the ruined temple, two people flashed to his side and bowed. The two beautiful men secretly glanced at the eldest young master's expression and asked softly, "Young master, go find someone to deal with him." "Today?" Hong, he asked with a smile. "Could it be that you want to wait until we return to the headquarters?" Aya, what a pitiful man. How did he offend our eldest young master? Hong, he shook her head. "Don't worry, young master. I will give you good news in the next 2 days." "Wait." Eldest young Sir Qin suddenly called out to Redcoat, who was about to leave. "Who is that?" Following eldest young Master Qin's finger, Hong Yi frowned and said with a laugh, "Oh, that person seems to be the Gu family's young Master Gu. Young master doesn't recognize him? You've met him during past experiential training or banquets." Chapter 52:10. How could I possibly know that kind of idler? Eldest young Sir Qin rolled his eyes irritably. What Gu family? What Gu family's young master? How could someone from that kind of second-rate patrician family enter eldest young Sir Qin's eyes? Hong, he couldn't resist twitching his mouth, and he nodded exasperatedly. Yes. Eldest young sir, what kind of person are you? How could you possibly remember the kind of young master from a last-rate patrician family? Of course, there's no need to remember him. Eldest young Sir Qin hummed in response and swept that person a glance. What did he come here for? Hong Yi and Qing Xing looked at each other before replying in unison. This subordinate will go investigate right away. These people were really worried about him. They always waited for him to give them instructions before they knew how to act, and they never said they wanted to act before him. Don't you think it's hateful? When Mo Lien returned at night, Arbor recounted the interrogation of Yuan Maui to Mo Lien. It's indeed hateful. Mo Lien nodded. If Zhao Guang belongs to the Heavenly Fate Society, then this matter is very clear. They want to use Zhao Guang to make a name for themselves and then swindle some people into joining. In the end, they can openly use these people as medicinal primers and test subjects. Arbor nodded. I also think so. The little stoic gnashed her teeth. They're truly incomparably hateful. They always act as they please. These people use the banner of resisting the Heavenly Fate Society, but they're actually big liars. If we can deal with them. Dealing with them is only a trivial matter, Emolien said after pondering for a moment. The most important thing is to expose this organization's true colors to the world. Jojo, although you don't care what outsiders say about you, I don't care about you. But I don't like them splashing dirty water on you. I hope that everyone can understand that this Zhaoguang is the Heavenly Fate Society's subsidiary organization. Its existence is to deceive everyone. Emolien grasped the little fellow's hand. Don't worry, I'll investigate first. When the time comes, I'll bring people to wipe out their nest in one fell swoop. After all, at present, Zhaoguang still had a very outstanding reputation among the people. If they rashly attacked and killed them, it would seem that their side was unreasonable. If you put all the evidence under the sun, no one will dare to say anything. He didn't like to hear that his wife was fierce and heartless. His wife was the softest person in the world. The little crown princess blinked her eyes and rubbed against him. Emolien lowered her head and touched her belly. She couldn't help but laugh. Jojo, I think you look like a ball now. What? How dare you call Little Master fat? Qiuqiu suddenly jumped out of the star domain and bounced back and forth on Prince Mo's shoulder. You're done for, Your Highness. Do you know that if you offend my little master, you'll be out of luck? Arbor was speechless. Shut up. Master, Your Highness said you're fat. Qiuqiu turned his head and cried out pitifully. I'm reprimanding him for you. Emolien couldn't help but be amused and annoyed. She reached out and poked Qiuqiu. What do you know? I haven't finished speaking. I want to say that even if my wife turns into a ball, she'll still be the cutest ball in the world. Oomph. Qiuqiu made a face at him and pretended to be serious. Sweet words. Master, let Qiuqiu tell you, a man's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. You have to be careful. When a man says sweet words, nothing good will come out of it. Chapter 52:11. Arbor glanced at Emolien. The latter immediately turned merciless and punched Qiuqiu out of the room. He calmly took his wife's hand. Baby, let's not talk to him anymore. Let's rest early. Arbor touched his stomach expressionlessly. The baby is here. Emolien chuckled and kissed her hand. You're the big baby. He's the little baby. Xiao Mu involuntarily twitched her mouth. Don't talk nonsense. Debao is so noisy. I don't want to become like him. What noisy? That's all talking too much. He's here to talk to you. You're so quiet. If Debao doesn't know how to talk, the two of you will be speechless. What's so fun about that? So you want to make a talkative robot, right? Arbor chuckled and allowed this fellow to carry him to the bedside. Prince Mo lowered his head and kissed her cheek. Jojo, what do you think we should name baby Mo? Don't we already have a name? Arbor yawned and wanted to find a comfortable place to lie down. Emolien was stunned. His wife couldn't be planning to name the child baby Mo, right? He was going to die of laughter. Oh yes, I heard that you gave Kong Kong a name. Mo Kong Kong. My mother gave it to him. Emolien, later on, I felt that it was better to call him Mo Kong. When a child grows up and finds out that his name is Mo Kong Kong, wouldn't he be depressed? Wouldn't baby Mo be depressed then? Our surname Mo can actually be paired with a nicer name. Emolien whispered to his wife. He lowered his head again and was speechless. His wife had fallen asleep in an instant. She had left him alone and quietly fell asleep. What an annoying fellow. She fell asleep after just 3 sentences. He lowered his head and rubbed his face against hers. He pulled her into his embrace and patted her gently. Recently, the little stoic had become more and more sleepy. It must be that the late pregnancy announcement had tired her out. Emolien stroked her face with heartache and pulled up the blanket while she was at it. If Lord Xiao was awake, she would definitely rebuke him. Only your family name can be matched with a better name. Those with the surname Xiao, the surname Duan, and the surname Mu can also match with a better name. What's wrong with baby Mo? Big treasure, little treasure. and Baby Mo are compatible. The next day, Arbor turned over and was about to sit up when he was almost scared by someone who was crawling on his bed. The little stoic was skillful and kicked him over in passing, directly kicking that crawling little person 3 meters away. With a loud bang, he slammed the door. Kai Xiao, Kai Chi, and the others, who were guarding outside, swarmed in. They held their swords and sabers with solemn faces and shouted, "Who is it? Who is it? Insolent assassin! How dare you trespass into the Eastern Palace?" Wah wah wah. Sir Guangguang was sobbing with tears and snot. His entire body was plastered to the back of the door, and he was crying so aggrievedly that his tears were dripping. Arbor glanced at his little leg that was sticking out of the blanket and silently retracted it. He coughed lightly and looked sternly at the child. That kick just now should have been quite heavy, but anyone who opened their eyes and saw a head moving back and forth next to them would have the same reaction, all right? She nimbly kicked out and nimbly retracted her leg, and her movements were incomparably swift. To be honest, she was almost stunned by her own skills. Xiao Mu moved her small mouth and solemnly asked, "How is it? Bring it over for me to see." Chapter 52:12. Master Guangguang pursed his little mouth and cried out pitifully, "What do you mean, bring it over for me to see? I'm not an object. What do you mean, bring it over? Shouldn't you be carrying it over?" Kai Xiao was speechless and carried the nagging, congealing mirror to Arbor's side. Arbor reached out and touched his bald head. "Aren't you an object? You're congealing mirror, not a human." Congealing mirror's Holy Spirit angrily stared at her. "Woman, speak more politely to Master Guangguang." Kai Xiao knocked his little bald head. "Speak more respectfully to your elders." What elder?" Congealing mirror was so angry that he almost stuttered. He was a damn 10,000 years old congealing mirror. These little brats were all his juniors, but they dared to act as elders in front of him. Master congealing mirror, he was so angry that he wanted to vomit. Arbor laughed and hugged him to his side, touching his bald head again. "What are you doing sneaking around my bed in the middle of the night?" Being asked like this, congealing mirror lowered his head and touched his fingers in embarrassment. "I can't take a look at my stomach." "What? No. I can't take a look at my contractor." Master Guangguang proudly raised his head. "Contractor looks really good looking." Arbor sat up straight and hugged this child to his lap. She understood the meaning of his words and lowered her head to touch her stomach. "Guangguang." Master Guangguang. Congealing mirror shook his head and snorted at Arbor. Arbor speechlessly looked at him. "Master Guangguang, I have a question to ask." Guangguang proudly raised his head. "For the sake of benefactress's good attitude, say it." Xiaomu gave him a light smack. "Speak properly. Why did benefactress come?" Whenever she heard the words benefactress, her head would hurt. Guangguang also looked depressed. Not knowing if it was because he had been spending too much time with that little monk recently, benefactress heard it and inexplicably called benefactress. "Women, call me Auntie." Arbor rudely rubbed his little face. "What?" Guangguang turned pale with fright. "You want me to call you Aunt?" Holy shit. He was a 10,000-year level light, condensing mirror Holy Spirit. And he actually had to open his mouth and call this 17-year-old child Aunt? "You must be joking." Arbor pinched his chubby hand with a serious face. "If you dare to yell again, I'll beat you until you start doubting your life." Lord Guangguang's round face was completely puffed up. "You, woman, you pa. Wah, you really hit me." Lord Guangguang cried out miserably. Don't hit me. I just took some time to come and see my contractor. I didn't expect you to have such a big reaction." Xiaomu stopped and pinched his small face. "Tell me honestly, is this contractor of yours?" She rubbed her stomach. "Baby Mo?" Ever since the incident where the light condensing mirror Holy Spirit entered her conscious and disappeared without a trace, Arbor thought left and right. Where did this guy run off to? Thinking back and forth, she could only think of running off to Treasure Mo's conscious. There was no other reason. This light condensing mirror was like a weird uncle all day long, staring at her stomach when he had nothing to do. It was too obvious. Light condensing mirror vigorously nodded his big head. Chapter 52:13. This fellow revealed a wretched smile and chuckled. Baby Mo is much more powerful than all of you. In the future, I must support him and let him walk on a bright path. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Mu seized the opportunity to rub his bald head. All right, don't daydream all day long. It's hard to say who will support who. She felt that this little baby in her belly should be quite powerful. Perhaps he did not need anyone's support. This fellow, Condensing Mirror, might be overconfident. Hearing her words, Condensing Mirror pursed his lips unhappily. Don't underestimate me, woman. Call me Andy? Arbor patted him again. I'll hit you. Condensing Mirror was furious. Andy, your sister. He is a 10,000-year-old condensing mirror. Does he have no shame? When Baby Mo comes out, I will have a helper. Condensing Mirror's Holy Spirit said the words in his heart. Is that so? Arbor raised her brows slightly. Are you sure Baby Mo will come out to help you and not Mother? Oomph. Lord Guangguang turned his little head and hopped off the bed with his 2 short legs. I can't be bothered to talk to you anymore. You will know when Baby Mo comes out. Ah, my little master must be the best in this world. Crown Princess, do you want this subordinate to beat him up? Kai Chi rolled up her sleeves and turned to ask the little Crown Princess. This fellow was seriously asking for a beating. Every time she saw him with his hands on his hips and his little belly sticking out and laughing wildly, she could not help but want to beat him up. The little Crown Princess silently twitched the corner of her mouth. She shook her head and waved her hand. Forget it. Let him play on his own. All right. Have you sent that batch of people over? Yes. Kai Chi nodded. With our people watching over them, I think they will not dare to be impudent. How long does the Crown Princess intend to let them dig in Chess Mountain's spirit mine? Dig for how long? Arbor was stunned. It depends on the situation. This group of people would first be imprisoned in the Chi Mountain spirit mine. When the time came for the Bright Light organization to fall, all of them would be dealt with. JoJo's Ren has been busy this morning? Yes, Crown Princess. Kaishio smiled and reached out to help her up. Then, she went forward to wash up. Is there any movement in the city today? Yesterday, it was said that the second miss of Count of Huainan's mansion sneaked back from the nunnery and was kicked out by the first madam. That second miss has stayed in Xian Nunnery for 3 months, hasn't she? Arbor was slightly stunned as he shook his head with a smile. Yes. Isn't that so? Kai Chi answered with a smile. Madam of Count Huainan said that second miss didn't know the rules and ran out of the nunnery without permission, so she punished her by kneeling at the gate. The little Crown Princess's hand that was holding the towel paused. Ah, you're still kneeling at the gate? She's kneeling. Kai Chi smiled. It seems that the first madam really dislikes her. How could she be disliked? The poison in her body was finally cured. Naturally, she would take some measures to deal with Madame Bao and her daughter. Moreover, His Majesty's imperial edict happened to be here. The first madam was a smart person and naturally knew how to deal with that concubine's daughter. But His Majesty's edict is to let Feng Mingwei go to Xiun Nunnery to cultivate for half a month. Right? Kai Chi covered her mouth and smiled. But His Majesty added that if she can't learn the rules and wash away her hostility, she's not allowed to return to the capital. Chapter 52:14. Now, the Countess of Huainan insists on saying that second Miss Fong is full of evil energy and has to continue cultivating in Xiun Nunnery. Kaishio couldn't help but laugh. That poor second concubine is also kneeling at the door with her daughter, begging First Madam to open the door. Arbor shook his head. It was indeed amusing. The capital had been silent for so long. Finally, there was something to talk about over tea. Night. The entire capital seemed very lonely under the night wind and cold rain. The ruined temple on the western outskirts, however, was emitting waves of blood-curdling screams. Mu Xiaoxue, who was wearing a white undergarment, was dragged to the ruined temple. She was so scared that her face was pale. Her eyes were darting around, and her hair was standing on end. When she saw the man who was beaten badly and hung on the beam in the ruined temple, Mu Xiaoxue almost fainted. Eldest senior brother? It was Zhao Yi. Zhao Yi was stripped naked and hung on the beam, spinning back and forth in the air. He looked very frightening. The The skin on his back had been beaten to a pulp, and there wasn't a single part of him that was intact. Mu Xiaoxue was so frightened that she fell to the ground with a thud. Father, father, father. No, she had to go back and find father. She had to send a message to father. Yes, she had sent a message to father. Mu Xiaoxue wasn't so stupid that she couldn't be saved. At least, she remembered that she had to ask Father Mu Jinghong for help in this situation. She didn't know what was going on, but she had a faint premonition. Did eldest senior brother end up like this because he was caught red-handed trying to steal Luo, he's Qianquan reversal talisman? That's why he was hung from the roof beam like this, and was beaten black and blue all over. She felt that her guess was very close to the truth, especially when she looked up and saw the gloomy man sitting above. When she recognized him as family head Qin, the bad premonition in her heart became more and more serious. And standing next to family head Qin was a young man with a pale face who looked like a gloomy wind. Who else could it be but Luo He? Since Luo He was here, it meant that Zhao Yi had really tried to steal the talisman. As expected, he had been caught red-handed by Luo He. Mu Xiaoxue waved her hands frantically, trying to clear her name. No, it's not me, it's not me. It has nothing to do with me. Eldest senior brother, eldest senior brother. She took out her communication jade talisman and was about to send a message to her father when her elbow was struck by a cold light. Ah! Mu Xiaoxue screamed and felt a sharp pain in her wrist. The communication jade amulet in her hand fell to the ground. A surge of earth elemental energy rushed over and crushed the communication jade amulet on the ground. Mu Xiaoxue slumped to the ground and hurriedly moved her legs backward. She muttered to herself, "It's none of my business, it's none of my business." Mu Xiaoxue. Qin Hong's cold eyes scanned her face and stared at her thoughtfully. Seeing this, Luo He stepped forward and bowed. He said in a low voice, "Master, Miss Mu Xiaoxue is Mu Qingya, home Master Mu's daughter." I see. Only then did Qin Hong's expression soften. He nodded with a smile. So she's home Master Mu's daughter. Then we're family. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoxue hurriedly nodded and said, Yes, I am Tianyan's daughter. We are family. Chapter 52:15. Mu Xiaoxue cried out, Yes, ma, patriarch. We're family, we're family. I haven't seen you much before, Qin Hong said with a smile. Luo He gave a fake smile. That's because Home Master Mu is very protective of his daughter. Patriarch, Home Master Mu, and City Lord Mu all value this daughter very much. Oh, so she's Jing Hong and Qingya's child. No wonder you look so good, huh? Seeing this, Qin Hong put on a caring face and nodded at Mu Xiaoxue. At this moment, Mu Xiaoxue was so scared that her soul almost left her body. However, family head Qin was smiling kindly at her, so she had no choice but to stiffly force a smile. She got up and knelt down, kowtowing to Patriarch Qin. Mu Xiaoxue said softly, Xiaoxue doesn't know. Why did Patriarch bring Xiaoxue here in the middle of the night? You really don't know? Luo He smiled sinisterly. That smile almost made Mu Xiaoxue's heart stop beating. Your good senior brother Zhao, he came to my room in the middle of the night, wanting to steal the universe reversal charm. He confessed everything. It was all you're doing. What? Mu Xiaoxue had already calmed down by now. Putting on a puzzled expression, she wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes like a little white flower and said in a sobbing tone, Grandmaster Luo, family head Qin, please don't listen to senior brother's nonsense. I never told him to steal anything. That charm, I've never heard of or seen it before. Why would I tell senior brother to steal it? Zhao Yi, who was hanging from the beam, naturally heard little junior's sister's words. He hurriedly shook his body. He was puzzled. Why would little junior's sister say such a thing? Was he thinking too much when she was so eager to distance herself from this? Oh, you didn't? Qin Hong put on a loving smile and chuckled. But your good senior brother has already confessed to us. It's because of you that he stole the universe reversal talisman. You've never heard of the heaven and earth reversal charm? Qin Hong chuckled at him. I don't think so. This universe reversal talisman is most effective on ordinary people like you. Mu Xiaoxue could not help but bite her lower lip when she heard the words ordinary people. She hated it when people called her an ordinary person. An ordinary person. She was an ordinary person. She was born an ordinary person. Moreover, she was an ordinary person who had no hope of ever becoming an ordinary person. Patriarch Qin. Mu Xiaoxue wiped her tears and cried. I really didn't ask senior brother to steal. Qin Hong waved his hand at her, indicating for her to continue listening. This heaven and earth reverse talisman can steal a cultivator's luck and fortune. It is indeed a good talisman. Whereas in our talisman hall, we've only successfully drawn one in all these years. TSK, don't you think it's precious and top-notch? Mu Xiaoxue's eyes lit up, and she almost could not control the desire in her heart. There really was. The talisman hall really had the heaven and earth reverse talisman. That belonged to her, Mu Xiaoxue. If Xiaoxue had this talisman, she would definitely be able to defy the heavens and change her fate for the rest of her life. She was on a rise. Mu Xiaoxue clenched her jade-like hand in excitement. Her entire body could not help but tremble slightly. Heaven and Earth Reverse Talisman. Chapter 52:16. She wanted it. She wanted this Qianquan reversal charm. Qin Hong was best at reading people's expressions. Now that he glanced at Mu Xiaoxue, he knew what she was thinking. Qin Hong couldn't help but laugh. This Mu Xiaoxue's expression was very greedy. She was just an ordinary ant, yet she dared to put on such a front in front of him. It was really interesting. Luo, he stuck out his pale tongue and licked the corner of his mouth. He smiled sinisterly. It seems that Miss Mu is really interested in this charm. She was interested, of course she was interested. She was so interested that she was about to die. Mu Xiaoxue quickly restrained her expression. Thinking of the current situation, she shook her head and pretended to be pitiful. No, I didn't ask senior brother to steal it. Believe me, this really has nothing to do with me. Is that so? At this moment, Zhao Yi, who was hanging above, really heard Mu Xiaoxue's excuses clearly. Mu Xiaoxue wanted to push the blame to him again and again. Even if Zhao Yi was a fool, he finally understood what was going on. Mu Xiaoxue wanted him to take the blame alone and didn't care about his life at all. Junior sister, how can you do this? Zhao Yi roared, but a whip lashed out at his legs, causing him to howl in pain. Mu Xiaoxue was so scared that her face turned pale. She clutched her chest with both hands and cried softly and pitifully. Senior brother, don't accuse me wrongly. I know you want to drag me down with you. You want to attract my father's help. But at this time, father won't come to help me. Useless man, you can't even steal a charm. Don't drag me down with you if you want to die. Mu Xiaoxue roared angrily in her heart, but on the surface, she pretended to be scared. Zhao Yi was so angry that he kept swinging his legs, his body swinging back and forth in the air. Mu Xiaoxue, how dare you treat me like this, Mu Xiaoxue? Who am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? Mu Xiaoxue gritted her teeth in anger. This stinky man, if he was really doing this for her, he wouldn't have betrayed her when he was in trouble. This useless stinky man still wanted to drag her down with him. She was not going to die with him. As long as she refused to admit it, even family head Qin and great master Luo would have to be reasonable. She was the biological daughter of Hall Master Mu and City Master Mu. Before killing her, they should at least consider their father and mother first, right? As Mu Xiaoxue thought about it, she felt as if she had taken a calming pill. She calmly knelt there and said obediently, Master Luo, I was really wronged. I never asked senior apprentice brother to steal a universe reversal talisman for me. In that case, it was your senior brother who wanted to steal this talisman to please you? Luo, he asked as he glanced at Mu Xiaoxue with a gloomy expression. Mu Xiaoxue, on the other hand, knelt obediently and did not say a word. Although she didn't say anything, her silence indicated that she agreed with Luo He's statement. It was Zhao Yi himself who wanted to please her. That was why he came to steal the amulet. She did not instruct him to do so. She didn't do anything. She was just a little white flower drifting about. How could she instruct others to do this and that? Senior apprentice brother Zhao had completely misunderstood her intentions. He didn't have the ability and still wanted to steal a charm from Great Master Luo. What else could he do when he was caught red-handed? Chapter 52:17. Just obediently accept the punishment. Why did he have to expose Xiao Shui? Could it be that two people being punished together would be more comfortable than one person being punished? Luo he stared at Mu Xiaoxue with a gloomy expression. After a long time, he laughed out loud. This woman really dared to say anything. She was indeed Mu Qingya's daughter. She was cunning and selfish enough to give up on everyone around her when something happened. Zhao, he couldn't accept it and shouted angrily, Xiao Shui, why are you doing this to me? Why? Xiao Shui wanted him to be the scapegoat, and he accepted it. But Xiao Shui's attitude, this attitude of wanting to cut ties with him, what was going on? Everything he did was for Xiao Shui's sake. In the end, did he have to tell her that everything was just a joke? Mu Xiaoxue didn't even look at Zhao Yi and knelt there obediently. She said with tears in her eyes, I hope Master Luo and Master Luo can help me. All right. Master Luo laughed devilishly and opened his fingers. Suddenly, 5 attack talismans shot out from his 5 fingers. They instantly pierced through Zhao Yi's body. Zhao Yi struggled with all his might and broke free from the beam and fell heavily to the ground. He curled up his body and felt as if there was a big hole in his chest. There was a terrifying gust of wind violently blowing in from the outside. These 5 offensive talismans caused his already broken body to be unable to withstand this power. Instantly, it became riddled with holes. Zhao Yi fell right in front of the little white flower, Mu Xiaoxue. Mu Xiaoxue was so frightened that she quickly stood up and took a few steps back. She really didn't expect Master Luo to be so ruthless and kill senior brother Zhao Yi in one move. She really didn't expect it. Master Luo wanted senior brother Zhao Yi's life. Seeing senior brother Zhao Yi crawling on the ground like a worm, Mu Xiaoxue's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She didn't want to kill senior brother Zhao Yi. How could she expect Master Luo to be so ruthless? Master Luo actually killed someone for a talisman. He killed senior brother Zhao Yi. Kill Mu Xiaoxue was so scared that her face turned pale. She retreated step by step and bumped into a dusty shrine. Scary. It was too terrifying. Grandmaster Luo actually killed someone. He killed senior brother Zhao Yi. Mu Xiaoxue had nowhere else to retreat to. She could only stick close to the old Buddha statue. Her eyes were filled with fear as she stared at Zhao Yi, who was squirming on the ground. There was not a single part of Zhao Yi's body that was still intact. As he crawled, he left a long trail of blood on the ground. He wanted to crawl to Mu Xiaoxue's side, grab her hand, and call her one last time. Although this junior sister of his had caused him to suffer in the end, and even caused his death, he didn't want to hate her. He didn't want Zhao. He tried to crawl forward, but the last thing he saw was Mu Xiaoxue's face, which was twisted with fear and anger. His hand never managed to touch her. Mu Xiaoxue was so frightened that she climbed up the shrine and stayed far away from him, avoiding him as if he was the plague. In the end, Zhao Yi died under the shrine. He had died in this wretched temple of qi foam. Seeing this, Mu Xiaoxue heaved a sigh of relief. Now that Zhao Yi was dead, the crime of theft would naturally fall on the dead man's shoulders. She was Mu Xiaoxue, the young miss of the City of Shadows. In this lifetime, she couldn't bear the slightest bit of stigma. Besides, she was innocent. Chapter 52:18. Even if it was just a small theft, she wouldn't allow it to tarnish her reputation. No, absolutely not. It seems that Miss Xiaoxue is relieved. Luo he smiled mischievously at Mu Xiaoxue. Mu Xiaoxue's slight smile instantly froze on her face. Qin Hong immediately waved at her and put on a kind expression. Miss Xiaoxue, then, how about we make a deal? What? Mu Xiaoxue nervously stood close to the shrine, one hand tightly gripping the small offering table behind her. On this gloomy night, inside a dilapidated temple, She was the only one who had to face family head Qin and Grandmaster Luo. The people standing beside her were all their guards. She, Mu Xiao Shui, was alone and helpless. Even if she wanted to go back and get help now, it was too late. Now she could only take one step at a time and see what family head Qin had to say. Mu Xiao Shui very stiffly smiled at Qin Hong. Family head, if there's anything, you can just tell me. I am a member of Tianyin. I will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire for the organization. Qin Hong clapped and laughed. Xiao Shui is indeed a good child. Hall Master Mu is the backbone of our organization and has contributed a lot to our organization. Xiao Shui, you really want this universe reversal charm, right? While speaking, Qin Hong flipped his palm slightly and revealed a jade talisman flashing with purple light. Mu Xiao Shui's heart suddenly jumped. Her eyes lit up as she stared at the jade talisman in Qin Hong's hand. She asked with a trembling voice, Family head Qin, Master, really? Is it? Of course, you can come over and touch it. Somehow, Mu Xiaoxue felt as if she was being carried by a string. Trembling, she walked to Qin Hong's side. She touched it, she really touched it. The jade talisman that could change one's luck was in her hand. If she immediately used it in front of Master Luo and family head Qin, Mu Xiaoxue didn't dare to act rashly. Luck was important, but the premise was that she had to be alive. If she was dead, what was the use of being able to change her luck? How is it? Qin whispered seductively to her. Don't you feel that this little talisman is in control of your own fate? Indeed, just like the legend said, all you had to do was open this universe reversal talisman in front of that person. Soon, all the good fortune of the person you want to take away will be transferred to your side. You're no longer a cripple, family head Qin said with a smile. His voice was low and filled with an indescribable charm. You will become the brightest star in this world. You will obtain indescribable opportunities and luck. Your life will immediately be painted with bright colors. Your name, Mu Xiao Shui, will definitely be passed down for eternity. Everyone will praise you endlessly. Mu Xiao Shui became more and more excited. Yes, it was just as family head Qin had said. As long as she, Mu Xiao Shui, had this universe reversal talisman, she could completely change her fate and her future. As long as he had this talisman, everything would no longer be an illusory dream. Mu Xiaoxue took a deep breath. She couldn't control her excitement. Holding the talisman in her hand, she felt as if she had the whole world. Chapter 52:19. An indescribable excitement rose from the bottom of her heart. Patriarch Qin. Mu Xiaoxue couldn't hide the excitement in her heart, tightly holding the jade talisman in her hand. Qin Hong smiled. As long as you can help me with one thing, then this universe reversal talisman is yours. Mu Xiaoxue's heart was filled with anticipation and hope. Her eyes completely lit up at that moment, as if they were illuminated by thousands of stars. Okay, I'll do it. Mu Xiaoxue nodded and said, Patriarch, whatever you want me to do, I can do it. Don't worry, it will be something within your ability. Qin Hong smiled and nodded to Mu Xiaoxue. I won't make it too difficult for you. Qin Xiao's face was gloomy as he appeared beside Mu Xiaoxue like a ghost. With a perverted expression, he stuck to Mu Xiaoxue's back and sniffed. Mu Xiaoxue was frightened by him and screamed, shrinking her body and hiding beside Qin Hong. Ha! Qin Hong smiled faintly. Xiaoxue, don't be afraid. Qin Xiao is just joking with you. Xiaoxue, take him with you in the future. With his help, you will be able to get twice the result with half the effort. When Mu Xiaoxue saw Qin Grass's sinister and narrow face, she was so scared that her heart trembled. However, on the surface, she still obediently agreed and asked in a soft voice, What does Patriarch want Xiaoxue to do? Qin Hong smiled and stared at her with a strange light in his eyes. I heard that when Jiaowei City was besieged by corpse puppets, you were also there. Yes. Mu Xiaoxue was a little confused. Qin Hong waved to her. Don't worry, I just want you to run over and put on a show. Just like this it will be. Mu Xiaoxue carefully walked to Patriarch Qin's side and listened. The more she listened, the more the smile on her face bloomed. In the end, a bright smile bloomed on Mu Xiaoxue's face. Patriarch, don't worry. Xiaoxue will definitely live up to Patriarch's expectations. Xiaoxue will definitely handle this matter properly. Patriarch, please wait for my good news. Good, ha ha ha. Qin Hong laughed and clapped his hands, nodding repeatedly. I was right about you. Good boy, once you finish this matter, this inverse the universe charm will be yours. Thank you, family head. Mu Xiaoxue immediately knelt down and bowed to family head Qin emotionally. If she could really obtain such a magical talisman, she was willing to pay any price. Moreover, it was just as family head Qin had said. It really wasn't difficult to do this. As long as she did this, everything would be fine. Mu Xiaoxue took a deep breath and a smile appeared on her face. Qin Hong was also very satisfied with her attitude. What he wanted was for Mu Xiaoxue to work for him wholeheartedly. With such a strong goal, Mu Xiaoxue would definitely not let him down. All right, Qin Xiao, you can send Miss Mu back. Qin Hong waved his hand, pretending to be tired. No need. I can go back by myself. Mu Xiaoxue was shocked. To be honest, she was still a little scared to see Qin Xiao's dark and narrow horse face in the middle of the night. Instead of letting him send her back, it would be better to walk back by herself. Unfortunately, family head Qin didn't want to satisfy her wishes. He smiled and waved his hand. I'm afraid it's too far for you to walk back by yourself. Chapter 52:20. Let Qin Grass carry you for a while. We'll be back soon, Qin Hong said with a smile. Qin Grass made a gesture with a fake smile. Please, Miss Mu. Half of Mu Xiaoxue's body stiffened. When she laid on Qin Grass's back, she felt that she was lying on a piece of cold, rotten meat. When Qin Grass's hands held her legs without any scruples, Mu Xiaoxue was even more ashamed and resentful. She felt that his hands were like poisonous snakes, grabbing her legs and causing her to feel pain. However, she didn't dare to say anything. Now that her life was more important, Mu Xiaoxue just buried her head and let Qin Grass carry her all the way out of the dilapidated temple. After the two left, Luo, he turned to look at family head Qin. Family head, you're giving Miss Mu a glimmer of hope so that she can risk her life for you. Qin Hong laughed out loud. So what? Luo, he shook his head and smacked his lips. Miss Mu looks like a smart person, but I didn't expect her to be so stupid. You don't understand, Luo, Qin Hong said with a smile. You don't know how an ordinary person feels when they see a glimmer of hope in front of them. Now that Mu Xiaoxue knows that she finally has a glimmer of hope to embark on the path of cultivation, become stronger, and become a powerhouse, don't you think she'll fight desperately for it? It's this talisman that gave her hope and a glimmer of light. Qin Hong's lips curled into a sly smile. Luo, he shook his head and said with a smile, she doesn't know that this universe reversal talisman is just a half-finished product. Even the Hall Master said that the effect of this talisman would only last for 3 days. In other words, this talisman could indeed transfer someone's luck, creation, and everything else. However, once the time was up, everything would turn into an illusion and vanish into nothingness like a bubble. However, experiencing the path of becoming a powerhouse for 3 days would drive Mu Xiaoxue crazy. Before she got it, she would at most have fantasies. However, if one were to lose this kind of unparalleled power again after having it, Luo, he shook his head. He didn't dare to think about what would happen to Mu Xiaoxue. No matter how strong a person's mental fortitude was, they probably wouldn't be able to withstand such a fatal blow. On the other side, Mu Xiaoxue, who had a strong fantasy in her heart, was sent back home by Qin Grass. Her current residence was also on Changle North Street. She had found an inconspicuous house to stay for the time being. Yes, that's enough. Put me down. When she came back to her senses, she found that Qin Grass had already carried her back to her room. Mu Xiaoxue couldn't help but feel a little angry. This Qin Grass, along the way, had been very unruly with her. Now that he had put her down, he did not forget to take advantage of her body, which made Mu Xiaoxue very unhappy. However, this person was sent to his side by family head Qin. It was probably because family head Qin was worried about her and wanted to send someone to keep an eye on her. She didn't dare to have a direct confrontation with this Zithergrass, so she could only coldly say to him, "All right, you can leave now. I'm home." However, Qin Chao licked the corner of her lips and said with a smile, "Miss Mu, I'm afraid you have some misunderstanding about Master's arrangements. From today onwards, Master wants me to follow Miss Mu." Qin Grass took a step forward, almost sticking to Mu Xiaoshue's body, and sniffed again. Mu Xiaoshue cried out in shock and took a step back, bumping into the bedpost with a thump. Chapter 52:21. What's the matter, Xiaoshue? City Lord Mu's voice came from next door, making Mu Xiaoshue's heart slightly calm. Father was next to her. She was not afraid. Qin Grass generously opened the door and welcomed the angry City Lord Mu in. Mu Jinghong saw a man in his daughter's room and was about to flare up on the spot. But when he looked again, he recognized that it was Qin Hong's personal guard. "Why are you here? City Lord Mu? You don't have to worry about this. You just need to know that I will be by Miss Mu's side in the future. No matter where she goes, I will go too." Mu Xiaoshue was so shocked that her face turned pale. What did he mean? Was this stinky man going to follow her to the toilet? Wasn't he taking advantage of her? Of course, Mu Jinghong was very angry. It was just that Qin Grass was a very loyal dog by the patriarch side. It was precisely because one had to consider the master's face before beating a dog, so he naturally couldn't be too harsh. Thus, with a cold expression, he swallowed his anger and said, "My daughter is still an unmarried young lady after all. I believe that family head Qin's arrangement was to have Brother Chao be her personal bodyguard and not follow her like a shadow." Qin Grass laughed and gave Mu Jinghong face. "All right, I will visit Miss Mu at this time tomorrow." After saying that, he left through the window. Mu Xiaoshue immediately burst into tears and threw herself into her father's arms for comfort. Mu Jinghong was very angry. He pushed her and asked, "Why did you provoke such a big Buddha in the middle of the night?" "Father." Mu Xiaoshue told him what had happened. Of course, she did not say that she had instigated Zhao Yi to steal the talisman. She put all the blame on Zhao Yi. Mu Jinghong was very angry. "You really can't do anything right. Forget it. Since this matter has happened, we can only take it one step at a time." Mu Jinghong patted his daughter's hand comfortingly. "Don't worry. With me here, Qin Grass will not dare to act recklessly. It's about Patriarch Qin's matter. Father, I will definitely do it well." Mu Jinghong sighed and stroked his daughter's hair. "It's really hard on you. If you can really get that inverse the universe talisman, it will be your good fortune." Mu Xiaoshue nodded excitedly. "Yes, Father, I will definitely do my best." Family head Qin's request wasn't difficult. Mu Xiaoshue felt that she would definitely be able to complete the task properly. At that time, the universe reversal talisman would be hers. No one would be able to stop her from taking the next step. She would obtain the inner world, the spirit realm, the supreme arts, and the cultivation of the god realm. Ha 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 ha. Crown Princess, Crown Princess. Arbor had just gotten up and was dragging a string of little radish heads to the garden to stretch his limbs as usual. On the other side, Kaishio hurried over with a group of people and bowed to her. What happened? If there was nothing, Kaishio would not have rushed over like this. Crown Princess. Kaishio's face was red with anger. It's Count Huainan's second concubine and second Mississippi. They're kneeling in front of the Chiao Estate's entrance and are currently kowtowing and complaining of injustice. What? Arbor's eyes instantly turned cold. Why did she run over to the Chiao Estate to cause trouble again? That's right. She was in the Eastern Palace and was separated by many palace doors. Naturally, he couldn't mess with her. These people could only be picking the soft persimmons to pinch. Elder sister. Arbor was still angry when she suddenly heard Shaolin Er's voice from the Star Domain. She casually let her out. Shaolin Er pounced on her as soon as she came out. Elder sister, I want to find a place to advance. Chapter 52:22. Arbor nodded and turned to call a hidden guard over. Bring Lin Er to a secluded place to advance first. Elder sister. Shaolin glanced at her with a grin and then noticed that her expression was not right. What's wrong? Nothing. Go advance first. There's something at home. Elder sister will take care of it. When Shaolin heard that something happened at home, she immediately called out, Elder sister, then I'll go back with you. There's no rush to advance first. It's fine. Arbor glanced at her younger sister and hesitated for a moment. Shaolin hurriedly said, Elder sister, how can I not go if something happens at home? Us sisters are the same mind. Our sharpness can cut through metal, and everything can be easily solved. I want to go. I must go and take a look. Arbor could not help but laugh inwardly. Looking at her younger sister's situation, it seemed to be all right, so she nodded. Her parents and family had not seen this younger sister for a long time, so it would be good to see her first. If Shaolin suddenly wanted to advance later, then let her go to East Peak Mountain. In any case, that mountain had already been flattened by Qi, Xian, and the others, so it would not be a big deal for her to cause more destruction at most. She would make that unlucky Do family head cry again. Thinking of this, Arbor's expression turned slightly better. She pulled her younger sister's hand and said, Then come with me. Shaolin nodded and rubbed her fists. I want to see who dared to cause trouble at our home when I wasn't around. She was definitely going to twist that person's head off and kick it around like a ball. Arbor looked at her younger sister's spirited appearance and could not help but find it funny. She nodded and said, It's second concubine and young miss from Count Huainan Estate. Shaolin was at a loss. I don't know them. Second young miss, you naturally don't know them. Kaisho angrily called out from the side. If you see those two, you might want to slap them. Elder sister Kaisho is such a good-natured person, but even she said that. Those two are definitely not good people. Shaolin harumphed and rubbed her little fists. Elder sister, let's go. Let's go see what they're up to. Arbor raised his hand to summon Qing Wan and let everyone jump on. Qing Wan did not need a pass to enter and leave the palace. The guards at the gate only raised their heads to take a look and let him pass. If the little crown princess wanted to leave the palace, who would dare to stop her? Anyone who tried to stop her would be unlucky. If he offended the crown prince, he might still be able to survive. But if he offended the crown princess, he would be doomed. On the other side, Arbor took Shaolin, Kaisho, and Kai Chi to the entrance of the Qiao mansion. Before they even landed in the distance, they saw a group of people crowding at the entrance of the Qiao estate, craning their necks to look. The young crown princess's face darkened. She turned around and nodded to everyone. She put away the blue wand, and the group of people floated down. A group of passers-by who were watching the show suddenly saw someone descending from the sky and hurriedly raised their heads. With one look, they were shocked. One person repeatedly shouted, "The crown princess is back! The crown princess is back!" Immediately, the people in front of the entrance scattered like birds and beasts. They ran in all directions like a swarm of bees, as if Arbor would slap them to death. Everyone took to their heels and ran faster than rabbits. Shaolin's mouth could not help but twitch. These people are quite tactful. How could they not be tactful? Your elder sister is so scary. Who would dare to blindly watch the show at the entrance of the Qiao estate? Chapter 52-23. After the crowd dispersed, they didn't go far, secretly hiding in the streets and alleys. Hiding in a corner, they squeezed their heads and slanted their eyes, continuing to watch the entrance of the Qiao estate. It's just that they didn't dare to approach. At the entrance of the Qiao estate, there really were two white flowers in full bloom kneeling, one old and one young. The two were kneeling side by side in front of the Qiao estate, wailing as if at a funeral. What injustice, what guilt. One voice at a time. Before Qiao Mu could flare up, Shaolin had already leaped forward and kicked that old white flower's back. Whose family are you mourning at? Who let you come to our house to cry? Wei Ziqin, who originally had an awkward expression, didn't know what to say to this second concubine mother of the Count of Huainan Estate. Suddenly shouted at by her daughter, she hurriedly looked up, and her anger couldn't help but turn into joy. She saw her younger daughter holding her older daughter's hand, the two of them stepping through the door together. Shaolin supported Arbor's hand. Seeing that the little white flower was about to pounce on her older sister, she hurriedly kicked it away. You dare to bump into my older sister's stomach? I'll kill you. Wei Ziqing hurriedly covered her younger daughter's mouth, hurriedly saying, Young lady, don't fight and kill all the time. This daughter was really worrying. If she had a fierce reputation in the capital, how would she find a good family in the future? Mother, Shaolin pulled down Wei Ziqing's hand. I just came out of seclusion and you're already talking about me. Wei Ziqing couldn't help but smile and pat her hand. You child, Mother isn't talking about you. Mother is worried. Forget it, forget it. Let's talk about this later. These two people from the Count of Huainan estate had to be dealt with first. It was really annoying to have them in front of the door. When these two womenfolk kneeled in front of the Qiao estate, Wei Ziqing could only tell the men in the family to hide in the rear courtyard to avoid a confrontation. Xiao Yao wanted to rush out with her sword, but she hurriedly stopped her. There was already a large crowd outside, waiting to watch the show. If Xiao Yao really took out her sword to chop them, wouldn't the streets know tomorrow? Sister-in-law. When Shaolin saw Xiao Yao, she hurriedly ran over. Aya, what did I miss in seclusion? Look, this is my little nephew. Peony was hugging the tiger cub. She had put away her sword, but her face was still filled with indignation. Now that she saw Shaolin run over, she finally smiled. Linner's out. That's amazing. At such a young age, he's about to break through to level 7. Shaoliner, buys by her, buys his lintest. Es buys, es linted est. Lintest by Ti Xiao Yao smiled and nodded, holding Shaolin hand and exchanging a few pleasantries. When she saw the two people kneeling in front of the door from the corner of her eyes, her expression immediately changed. These two women actually dared to kneel in front of the Qiao estate and ruin their family's reputation. How hateful. I'll deal with it, Arbor said with a sullen face. This mother and daughter pair came for her, and it originally had nothing to do with the family. However, because of her, the family was implicated, and Arbor felt very apologetic. When Wei Ziqing saw her daughter's expression, she knew that she was thinking too much again and hurriedly consoled. Daughter, don't think too much. We're all family. There's no such thing as implicating. Chapter 52-24. Arbor nodded slightly. I know. She was in a bad mood when she saw this kind of thing. After all, 2 days ago, someone came to the 100-day banquet to make a scene because of her. Fortunately, she controlled herself and didn't kill them. Otherwise, wouldn't the 100-day banquet be stained with blood? She walked slowly to the two weeping women and said coldly, Get up. Madame Bao Jr. trembled and quickly knelt in front of her daughter. She cried, Crown Princess, please don't be angry. It's already been 3 months. You can't let a beautiful girl like me spend the rest of her life in a nunnery like this. Madame Bao Jr.'s words made it seem like it was her idea to ask Feng Mingyue to go to the nunnery. This is His Majesty's decree. Arbor said coldly, I think you mother and daughter are stupid. You can't even distinguish between His Majesty's decree and this crown princess's intention. His Majesty's decree is not your decree. Now that you're pregnant with the dragon fetus, you can say whatever you want. Madame Bao Jr. curled her lips angrily, but she quickly put on a smile and said with a flattering smile, Crown Princess, it's not that this lowly one wants to overstep the rules, but His Majesty ordered my daughter to go to the nunnery to cultivate for half a month. It's already been 3 months. Crown Prince Consort, shouldn't you be appeased by now? Besides, Mingyue contradicted you back then because she was childish and shouldn't be like this. But it's already been 3 months, and Mingyue has already received the punishment she deserves. Please forgive her. Madame Bao Jr. wiped the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief and cried, Crown Princess, Mingyue's life in Xiyu Nunnery is really poor. 3 meals a day are thin porridge, and there isn't even a side dish to accompany the porridge. Crown Princess, why do you have to do this? This punishment should be enough. Wei Ziqing was eager to protect her daughter and said angrily, Nonsense. Second aunt, what are you saying? What does it have to do with the crown prince consort whether or not your daughter can come back? It's not like the crown princess ordered her to suffer in the nunnery. Madam Qiao, do you think this is appropriate? If it wasn't for the crown princess, His Majesty wouldn't have ordered Mingyue to be punished. Madame Bao wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and looked heartbroken. Originally, His Majesty had ordered Mingyue to stay in the nunnery for half a month. But now, it has already been 3 months. Little Madame Bao continued to cry. Crown Princess, you have to know your limits, don't you? There has to be a time limit for this punishment. Shut up. The young Crown Princess coldly scolded. What do you want? Madame Bao Jr.'s eyes rolled, and she quickly put on a fawning expression. This subject hopes that the Crown Princess will go to the Count of Huainan's estate and personally explain this matter to Madame, and take my daughter back to the estate. Wei Ziqin heard this and couldn't help but laugh in anger. You want the Crown Princess to send your daughter back to the Count of Huainan's estate? Do you think you have the face to do so? Madame Bao Jr. couldn't help but vomit blood in anger. How could she not have the face? She was also the second Madam of the Count of Huainan's estate. This matter was originally caused by the Crown Princess. She asked the Crown Princess to send her and her daughter back to the estate and then explain it to First Madam. Wasn't it right? Wicked woman. Wei Ziqin finally understood. She was so angry that her face turned pale, and she pointed at Madame Bao Jr. and shouted. Chapter 52-25. What a wicked woman. Your madam chased you and your daughter out of the door and refused to let you two in, so you came to our Qiao estate. You want to use the Crown Princess's name to send you and your daughter back to the estate? You really have a good plan. Wei Ziqin angrily scolded and pointed at Madame Bao Jr. Don't look at me like that. Who do you think you are? You have the face to come here and ask the Crown Princess to do you and your daughter a favor? Madame Bao Jr.'s face was covered in dirt after being scolded by her. On the side, Feng Mingyue couldn't help but say angrily, shouldn't I? I suffered so much in the nunnery for so many months because Feng Mingyue's cry was hurriedly covered by Madame Bao Jr., who rushed forward. On the way here, she had repeatedly exhorted her daughter to not get into a conflict with the young crown prince consort. Otherwise, did she really plan to live in the nunnery for the rest of her life? Who knew that his daughter was still so impulsive? He didn't keep an eye on her and almost caused trouble again. If she argued with the crown princess at this time, they definitely wouldn't have a good time. Especially now that the little crown princess's belly was so big. If she bumped into something and blamed it on the Madame Bao Jr. couldn't help but tremble and almost didn't dare to continue thinking. If the dragon fetus was damaged, it was very likely that the entire Count Huainan estate would be executed. Perhaps the wicked First Madam's words would be true, and even the dog in front of their house wouldn't be spared. When she thought of this, Madame Bao Jr. trembled again. She quickly grabbed her daughter and looked at Wei Ziqin's group with a smile. Madame Qiao, Madame Bao Jr. said with a smile. Say, what are we arguing about? Actually, this is a very small matter, huh? Shut up. Wei Ziqin didn't want to see the woman in front of her at all. This shrew actually wanted her daughter to compromise and give them face. What did she think her daughter was? What did she think she was? Her daughter was the crown princess. If she ran to send a concubine's daughter back to the mansion of Count Huainan, what would she do? Little Madame Bao was really daring. Her wishful thinking made Wei Ziqin want to go up and give this woman 2 tight slaps. Reason told her that she had to remain calm and collected. She had to maintain her dignified and virtuous demeanor as the madam of the Qiao estate and the mother of the crown princess. But in reality, she only wanted to go up and tear apart this idiot in front of her. Shaolin also wanted to go up and kick the mother and daughter, but she was stopped by Arbor. The little crown princess said indifferently, "We don't have to do anything. Someone will come and take care of them." Madame Bao hugged her daughter and shivered. The word cuisine that came out of the little crown princess's mouth sounded as if the mother and daughter were trash that could be thrown away at any time. Terrifying. Madame Bao Jr. hurriedly tugged at her daughter and thought about how to continue singing. She heard a servant hurriedly report from outside. Madam, the crown princess. The madam of Count Huainan and eldest miss are here. Clang! Madame Bao Jr. collapsed on the threshold in fright. Then she felt someone kick her in the back. She couldn't take it and fell forward, almost falling flat on her face. The Madam of Count Huainan and Feng Luiying rushed over. Looking at the Madam of Count Huainan, she was so anxious that she even forgot to put on her cloak. Chapter 52-26. She stepped through the door and kicked that shrew Madame Bao Jr. to vent the anger in her chest. As soon as Feng Luiying entered, she hurriedly greeted the Crown Princess and Madame Qiao. After Madame Count Huainan gave her greetings, she also hurriedly grabbed Wei Ziqin's hand and said, "Big Sister Qin, it's all younger sister's fault for not disciplining the concubines in the manner. They actually ran over and disturbed your family's peace." When Wei Ziqin saw Madame Count Huainan, her expression finally relaxed. Madame's words are too serious. It's just that this mother and daughter pair came to my Qiao estate's door early in the morning, kneeling, crying, and howling. They really did cause a lot of trouble for my family. In addition, this mother and daughter pair even wanted the Crown Princess to send them back home. This is really unreasonable. Madame Count Huainan was so angry that she fell backwards. She turned and shouted at a group of burly mamas. "What are you all still standing there for? Why haven't you taken them away yet? They're all insensible things." Madame Count Huainan harshly scolded. "You're just a concubine's child. You actually dare to beg the Crown Princess for grace and shamelessly ask people to send you back home? You deserve to be a concubine for the rest of your life, you unpresentable thing." Madame Bao Jr. was so angry that her hands trembled. She shrieked, "Older sister, your words are too unreasonable. Mingwei is the Feng estate's concubine's daughter and master's biological daughter. Oh, what are you doing? Let go, let go, let go." Before Madame Bao could finish speaking, several old maidservants grabbed her by the arms and lifted her up. Arbor looked on coldly and didn't say anything. Shaolin inwardly cursed. Serves them right. She glared fiercely at Madame Bao and her daughter. What the hell? Running to someone's home early in the morning to howl about a funeral was truly uncultured and infuriating. Feng Mingyue was also lifted up by someone. She cried out in fright. "What are you doing? What are you doing? Didn't Mother say that this method would definitely work? Mother said that as long as she and her daughter knelt in front of the Qiao estate and forced the Crown Princess to send them back to Count Huainan's estate, it would definitely work. But now, why did things turn out contrary to their wishes and go in the opposite direction? Where's First Madam taking them to?" Madame Bao Jr. was also panicked. She yelled, "Older sister, what are you doing? Older sister? Older sister, where are you taking us to go?" "Where?" The Countess of Huainan sneered. "Go where you should go. Madame Bao's madams the Crown's estate S's? Madams is madams. If Master finds out later, he definitely won't let you off." Ouch. Young Madame Bao was secretly pinched by the maidservants. It was so painful that tears came out of her eyes. The Countess of Huainan sneered, "Don't worry. I promise you and your daughter will live well in the nunnery for the next few years." There was no way out for them. Madame Bao almost fainted when she heard this. Her beautiful daughter was going to spend the rest of her life in a nunnery. How could that be? Send them there. Madame Count of Huainan shouted angrily and turned to take Wei Ziqin's hand, saying, "Sister Qin, don't worry. I promise I'll send someone to watch them this time and won't let them come out to cause trouble again." Chapter 52-27. Little Madame Bao still wanted to bite and curse, but her mouth was covered by the old mamas. With 4 people carrying 1 person, it was as if they were carrying pigs. They carried the 2 people out of the Qiao estate. From beginning to end, Wei Ziqin and the others only watched coldly from the sidelines. As they watched the mother and daughter being forcefully carried out, the depression in their hearts dissipated slightly. That mother and daughter pair were truly too outrageous. They had been causing a ruckus since early morning until now. Even though Wei Ziqin's health had always been good, she still felt a bit tired at this time. Who could endure such a ruckus? Arbor stepped forward to support her mother. "Mother, are you all right?" Seeing her daughter's worry, Wei Ziqin hurriedly shook her head. "It's nothing. It's just that they've been causing a ruckus since early in the morning. My head hurts a bit. Mother will be fine after returning to her room to rest. Xiao Yao hurriedly said, then quickly helped Mother back to her room to rest. Count Huainan's madam was also embarrassed to continue staying here. She hurriedly nodded and said, Sister Qin, go rest. We'll come back another day to apologize. Wei Ziqin nodded and was helped back to her room by the maidservants. Fong Luiying slowly walked to Arbor's side and said in a low voice, the Crown Princess, second sister, and the others have really gone too far this time. They've made the Qiao estate restless. My mother and I both feel very ashamed. Arbor nodded slightly at her. If your mother makes the decision to send her to Tsiyu Nunnery again, we'll Count Huainan. Fong Luiying couldn't help but snort. That's His Majesty's decree. Even if it's my father, she wouldn't dare to defy the decree. Arbor made a sound of agreement and said indifferently, then let her continue to cultivate her body and mind in the nunnery. It doesn't matter if she cultivates for a year or so. Moreover, the mother and daughter pair are so talkative. They've probably caused a headache for everyone in Tsiyu Nunnery. Fong Luiying's eyes turned, and she immediately understood. Crown Princess, please don't worry. My daughter knows what to do. Arbor nodded his head and asked someone to send Mrs. Liu and her daughter out of the house. Then, he followed Xiao Yao back to her room to see her chubby little nephew. Xiao Yao couldn't help but ask curiously, Jojo, you were talking to Miss Fong at the door for quite a long time. Yes, I gave him a few instructions. Miss Fong is a smart person. Arbor teased his little nephew who was lying on the bed with a hand-sewn cloth tiger in one hand. The little guy was quite mischievous. He looked at Sir Jojo and only thought about moving every few days. That laziness made Arbor want to laugh. This kid looks like my brother who, Jojo said. Isn't that so? Look at him, he looks so dignified and lazy. If he doesn't look like him, then does he look like me? Xiao Yao said disdainfully. Arbor couldn't help but want to laugh, but before he could open his mouth, he heard a laugh coming from outside the door. How am I lazy? Younger sister, help me be the judge. Xiao Yao covered her mouth and laughed. She turned around and glared at her husband who was striding through the door. You're back so early today. Business has been sluggish recently, and there's not much business in the shop. I saw that there weren't many people, so I gave the workers a break early and let them go back to rest early. Brother whose ironware shop was only one street away from their home. Usually, it didn't take long for him to go back and forth. Ever since Xiao Yao gave birth and took care of the baby, brother who had been slacking all day. From time to time, he would close the shop and go home to take care of the baby. Xiao Yao laughed and scolded him for not doing his job. She glanced at Xiao Hu and said with a smile, our son is really like you, mischievous. Chapter 52:28. If it weren't for the fact that we have other shops at home to support our livelihood, with that lousy ironware shop of yours, I think the two of us would probably starve to death. Xiao Hu laughed good-naturedly and patted his head. The family doesn't lack this bit of money from me. Wife, I was just trying to pass the time, so I opened a shop for fun. Brother Xiao, whose craftsmanship is pretty good. Arbor nodded and said, the swords that we sent to the guards last time are also very handy for everyone. That's good, that's good. Xiao Hu laughed heartily. He was very happy to be able to help his younger sister. Eldest brother, sister-in-law. Jolin's voice sounded from outside the door. Xiao Hu hurried to open the door and welcomed his younger sister in with a smile. Hey, you sisters-in-law, have a chat. I'll go to the kitchen to take a look and bring you some snacks. Sister-in-law. Shaolin bounced forward and called out with a grin. Quick, quick, let me see my fat nephew, haha. I'm also an aunt now. Arbor couldn't help but want to laugh and beckon to the lass. Jolin flew to the bed and picked up all kinds of toys to tease the lazy child. Ha ha ha, he's so funny. Arbor rolled his eyes. You're funny. Your whole family is funny. Xiao Yao. Seeing the two sisters teasing the child in front of the bed, Xiao Yao's heart was filled with happiness. When she turned back, she saw her husband striding over with a large tray in his hand. When he entered, he yelled, Here, the snacks are here. Xiao Yao couldn't help but chuckle. Later, Prince Imo naturally heard about this when he came to the Qiao estate to pick up his wife. Without another word, His Highness the Crown Prince immediately sent someone to the Duke of Huainan's estate to find the old uncle and harshly reprimand him. The old uncle, who was originally furious and wanted to settle the score with eldest madam, was so scared that he immediately wilted. His Highness the Crown Prince had said that if he dared to bring the mother and daughter back within 3 years, his title as a count would be over. As such, for the sake of his title and future, no matter how much his heart ached for his concubine's daughter, Fong Xingui did not dare to bring her back. Mrs. Lu's heart was filled with gratitude. If it weren't for the Crown Prince's timely arrival, she would have been punished by the old master to kneel in the ancestral hall. On the other side, Madame Bao and her daughter, who had been carried to Tian Nunnery and locked up in the nunnery, received reliable and accurate information. The Duke canceled the trip and withdrew the carriage that was originally sent to pick up the mother and daughter. Fong Mingyue felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She was so angry that she made a scene in the nunnery. She smashed, and threw everything she could. How could this be? Does father not want us anymore? Fong Mingyue shouted angrily. Why is it like this, mother? Didn't you say that as long as we show our faces at the Count's residence and cry, father will compromise? Also, you said that as long as the Crown Princess agrees to let us go back, everything will be fine. And the result? How could that bitch agree? She doesn't even have time to deal with us. How could she be so kind as to agree? Fong Mingyue shouted angrily. Now everything is over. We can't go back. Okay, stop arguing. Madame Bao was annoyed by her daughter's argument and couldn't help but turn around and yell at her daughter. Fong Mingyue widened her eyes and stared at her mother, who had always obeyed her, in disbelief. She cried out miserably, "This was all your idea?" Chapter 52:29. You're yelling at me now? You're yelling at me? Now I can't go back. I'm going to spend my best years in this shabby nunnery. This is all you're doing. Originally, we only needed to wait quietly. Maybe in another half a month, the Count's estate would send a carriage to pick me up. It's you. You insisted on sneaking back now. You insisted on letting that slut embarrass me and send me back to the Count's estate to suppress First Madame's arrogance. And the result? My face was slapped to the ground and slapped hard. Madame Bao was so angry that she almost vomited blood and died. She stared at her daughter and roared. Enough. Who am I doing this for? You're still blaming me? You're blaming me? Fong Mingyue was startled by her mother's red eyes. She quickly shrank back and cried out gloomily, I don't want to blame you. It's just that your thinking is too perfect and too simple. In the end, things didn't go as planned. Dong, dong, dong. Dong, dong, dong. The door of the nunnery was slammed twice. Seeing that no one came to open the door, one of the fat nuns kicked the door open with a bang. What's all this noise about? The fat nun shouted. She raised her large hand and slapped the crying Fong Mingyue in the face. Fong Mingyue was stunned. In a moment of carelessness, she was slapped onto the hard bedboard, and her nose was almost crooked. Madame Bao screamed and jumped up, looking like she was going to fight the fat nun to the death. However, with her mediocre martial arts, she couldn't withstand one move from the fat nun. She was sent flying to the side of the cabinet by the fat nun's large hand. With a dong sound, his big head knocked against the cabinet door, and a bloody mark was left on it. Madame Bao screamed in fright. Fong Mingyue was also angry. She threw out a fireball to attack the fat nun. However, although the fat nun was large, she was very nimble. After everyone moved to the side of the door, they quickly threw out a wave of spiritual energy and knocked away Fong Mingyue's attack. Fong Mingyue was so angry that she wanted to go crazy. However, because the other party's martial arts were stronger than hers, she couldn't do anything to them. The fat nun quickly rushed forward, grabbed Fong Mingyue's elbow, and forced her down onto the wooden bed. His other hand quickly swiped under her nose. Fong Mingyue couldn't hide the panic on her face. She immediately jumped up from the bed, pointed at the fat nun and shouted, You, what did you inhale for me? Miss Mingyue and second concubine, just stay in Siyu nunnery and cultivate. The fat nun glanced at them coldly and shook her head indifferently. She put away the medicine bottle in her sleeve and winked at the nun next to her. That person also quickly walked forward, grabbed Second Aunt's collar, and sniffed the contents of the small medicine bottle for her. This was a good item that Miss Fong had sent over. She said that it was harmless to the body, but it would make the mother and daughter less noisy and quieter. You! Fong Mingyue wanted to shout, but she suddenly felt that her throat was very dry. After coughing twice, he was surprised to find that he couldn't even make a sound. How could this be? Fong Mingyue's eyes widened in horror. She looked back at second concubine, Madame Bao, who also had a bewildered expression. Madame Bao was holding her forehead with one hand. When she found that she couldn't speak even if she wanted to, she repeatedly made several hand gestures to her daughter. The mother and daughter gesticulated for a long time, their expressions growing more and more frightened. Chapter 52:30. She turned around and saw the fat nun smiling coldly at the two of them. The medicine sent by eldest young Miss Fong was indeed extraordinary. With just a sniff, the mother and daughter pair immediately became mute. Excellent. During this period of time, the nunnery had not been very peaceful. The mother and daughter pair had been causing trouble all day long. It was so annoying. Now, everyone could have a peaceful period of time. When eldest young Miss sent someone to deliver the medicine, she also said that they could sniff the medicine every 7 days to ensure that it would be quiet. The two of you should obediently live in Xian Nunnery. It won't be too late to return to the capital when second young Miss Fong can sweep away this vicious aura. After saying this, she gave the other nun a look. The two of them turned around and left at the same time, closing the door with a bang. Little Madame Bao rushed to the door. She wanted to curse, but found that she could not utter a single word. She could only forcefully pound on the door, causing the door to rumble loudly. How did she end up in such a bad situation? Little Madame Bao was really puzzled. She had secretly brought her daughter back to the capital to lift the ban on her daughter's hair cultivation. How did it end up like this now? Little Madame Bao turned around to look at her daughter, whose cheeks were red and swollen and was silently crying. She did not feel good in her heart. She walked forward and pulled Fong Mingyue, gesturing and speaking in front of her. Her original intention was to tell her not to worry and to relax. Her father, Count Huainan, would definitely find a way to pick them up. But then she thought of the news she received, saying that Count Huainan changed his mind before leaving and would not come and pick them up. She could not help but feel discouraged. What should she do in the future? When Mu Jingfeng was carried up, other than being able to move his neck, he could not move any part of his body. The more Qin Hong looked at Mu Jingfeng, the angrier he became. What happened? Last night, 2 assassins broke into his room. The guard said this and did not continue. A trace of anger rose in Qin Hong's eyes. Did second brother send someone to do it? Ever since second young master left, our people have been keeping an eye on their movements. The people around second young master, including young Master Dugu's group, haven't made any movements. Qin Hong slapped the ground beside Mu Jingfeng's leg, creating a deep pit. Mu Jingfeng was so frightened that he shook his head repeatedly. He wanted to retract his leg, but he was powerless. Boss sent someone to do it. Qin Hong gritted his teeth and said angrily, "These 2 children are simply demonic." Seeing how his 2 sons were so protective of the little demoness, he wanted to help his sons get rid of this troublemaker. If it wasn't for this demoness obstructing them, their Tianyin wouldn't have been exposed so early. It's all because of this little demoness. It's all because of this demoness. Mu Jingfeng looked pleadingly at Qin Hong. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Qin Hong looked at him coldly, assessing in his heart whether this person still needed treatment and whether it was worth saving. After a round of evaluation, family head Qin took out a medicine bottle from his bosom and poured out a black pill. "Do you dare to eat it?" Qin Hong sneered at Mu Jingfeng. "I'll say the ugly words first. This level 5 mutated pill may cause your body to rapidly collapse. You'll be consigned to eternal damnation." Qin Hong curled his lips coldly at Mu Jingfeng and smiled. "The worst outcome is that you'll become a rotting corpse without any thoughts. You know that." Chapter 52:31. But there's another possibility. It will let your body undergo 3 different stages of transformation and mutation. Of course, each stage of transformation will give you a new life. Your crippled legs will be able to stand up, and your body's functions will probably recover. You will become stronger each time. Qin Hong looked at Mu Jingfeng and saw a strong desire to live flash in his eyes. This is the strongest mutation pill that our Tianyin has developed so far. The effect will be much better than those basic mutation elixirs that are sprinkled all over the streets with night cowbirds. The probability of mutating into a corpse puppet will also be much smaller than that. How about it? Do you want to give it a try? Mu Jingfeng couldn't speak, but the desire in his eyes was very obvious. Yes, he wanted to try. Of course, he wanted to take a gamble. He wanted to live, not die. Now that there was such a good opportunity in front of him, how could he let it go? Rather than living in a half-dead state with only his neck that could move, he might as well take a gamble. He had no choice at all. There was only one path in front of him. After taking this level 5 mutation pill, he would definitely be able to regain a new life. Hee, don't show such a yearning expression. Qin Hong couldn't help but pour cold water on him. Although the probability is much smaller than the basic mutation elixir, you still have a high chance of becoming a corpse puppet. After all, your current body is so dilapidated that I can't say anything about it. Qin Hong sneered, but don't worry. Even if you become a walking corpse, you will definitely have the most transformation ability among the corpses. We also have research that shows that after taking the mutation pill and becoming a corpse puppet, there may be 2 to 3 stages of evolution and transformation. Of course, the most successful type is the perfect corpse puppet. This kind of corpse puppet is much stronger than the previous ones. It may have its own thoughts and may look no different from a human. You may not be able to find it at all if you walk in a crowd. Ha ha ha. Do you want to become a mutant or a perfect corpse puppet? The road is under your feet. Work hard. Qin Hong gave a look. Immediately, a guard stepped forward, lowered his eyes, and took the pill from Qin Hong's hand and went to Mu Jingfeng's side. Mu Jingfeng hurriedly opened his mouth, looking expectant. When the pill entered his mouth, it turned into an ice-cold, bitter liquid that slid down his esophagus, and Mu Jingfeng fell into a deep sleep. However, he could still feel that his body was undergoing a purgatory training. It was as if his entire body was being roasted over a fire. From top to bottom, from inside to outside, his entire body was boiling with heat. Qin Hong chuckled. Regarding Mu Xiaoshua's matter, I still need you to give her a hand. I hope you won't disappoint me. In a small alley beside Changle Resort, Mu Xiaoshua was fuming with rage, wishing she could skin the person in front of her alive. Xiaoshua, senior apprentice brother. When Mu Xiaoshua heard the voice, she couldn't help but struggle for a moment. She turned her teary eyes to Gu Yishuan, who had hurried over. What are you doing? Gu Yishuan rushed over and angrily grabbed Mu Xiaoshua from under Qin Chao's arm, shielding her behind herself. Mu Xiaoshua hated this bastard so much. She had planned to visit her mother, Mu Qingya, this morning. Actually, she wanted her mother to come up with a plan. Chapter 52:32. Who knew that the servants would stop him outside, saying that without the second young master's orders, no one could go in to visit. Thus, Qin Grass hypocritically came over and said that he could help her in. If Gu Yishuan hadn't happened to come over, Mu Xiaoshua wouldn't have known how to get rid of this ugly man. Qin Grass wasn't angry at being pushed away by Gu Yishuan. He chuckled and looked at Gu Yishuan, saying sarcastically, so that's how it is. Gu Yishuan's heart thumped. He knew what Qin Grass meant. Qin Grass knew that he had told family head Qin, but no one else knew. He had been secretly happy that Zhao Yi was dead and no one could testify, so this matter wouldn't be mentioned again. But seeing Qin Grass today, he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. He was afraid that Qin Grass would shoot his mouth off, so he hurriedly smiled apologetically. So it's Lord Qin Grass. Qin Grass chuckled at him and turned to leave, leaving behind a thought-provoking sentence. A fair lady is indeed a gentleman's mate. Mu Xiaoshua was very puzzled. She hid behind Gui Xuan and asked softly, Senior Brother Gu, what did he mean by that? Gui Xuan smiled awkwardly. Nothing. All right, Junior Sister. Did you come here early in the morning to see Master's wife? Yes, Mother is very resourceful. I want her to give me some ideas about what I'm doing. Gui Xuan persuaded her. Master's wife is being detained by the second young master. It's not easy to see her. The last time Master went, it took a lot of persuasion for the second young master to give Master some face. Mu Xiaoxue lowered her head dejectedly. I know. Gui Xuan took her hand and smiled. Let's talk about something happy. I've already persuaded Father to join our organization. In the future, our Gu family and the City of Shadows will be considered one family. Really? Of course, this is all thanks to Junior Sister. Gui Xuan smiled. I've already reported it to Family Head Qin. Family Head also said that he will reward Junior Sister in the future. Mu Xiaoxue pursed her lips and smiled. What credit? It's what I should do. Right, what about the Lin family? Huh. Gui Xuan couldn't help but sneer. There hasn't been an answer yet, but it should be soon. They had no choice but to agree. Don't forget that Lin Miao, and Lin Zhen are both in our hands. Mu Xiaoxue smiled faintly. Sister Miao, and the others are really forget it. Let's not talk about them. By the way, Senior Brother, why are you looking for me? Junior Sister, I'll go with you tomorrow. Is everything almost ready? Yes. A cold light flashed in Mu Xiaoxue's eyes. Little Junior Sister, although your work is important, your own safety is also very important. Gui Xuan said, but don't worry, I will protect you with my life. Thank you for your help, Senior Brother. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked back. Gui Xuan took the opportunity to curry favor with his little Junior Sister. After sending them into the house, he turned around and saw Qin Grass standing not far away, waiting for him. A cold light faintly appeared in his gloomy, triangular eyes. Gui Xuan was startled and hurriedly stepped forward. Is something the matter, Lord Qin Herb? Gui Xuan, don't play dumb. Tell me, how much are you going to give me to keep my mouth shut? Qin Grass chuckled. Chapter 52-33. Gui Xuan's heart almost jumped out his chest, but on the surface, he put on a calm face. If Zhao Yi's matter was exposed to his junior sister and master, he would definitely suffer. Gui Xuan secretly gritted his teeth and could only accept Qin Grass's threat helplessly. Lord Qin Grass, we are all working for the family head. You don't have to be like this. Gui Xuan smiled and rubbed his hands. He took out a bag of spirit coins and stuffed it into Qin Grass's hands. Qin Grass waited, snorted, and turned to leave. You brat, be careful. Until he walked far away, Gui Xuan spat out indignantly, and a trace of anger flashed through his eyes. What a villain. He reported Zhao Yi. Could be that it was for him. Wasn't it for the sake of the organization? Even the family head praised him for his loyalty. This Qin Grass, damn it, he actually used this to threaten him. He couldn't do anything to him now, but when he grew up, he would definitely teach this person a lesson. Achoo! Arbor rubbed his nose, sat on the bed, and asked with a sleepy face, What time is it? Kai Shio went forward and said, It's almost noon. Crown Princess, did you not sleep well last night and catch a cold? No. Little Crown Princess waved her hand and said, Maybe I slept too much. It's strange recently, I always feel sleepy. He raised his hand and touched his stomach. She repeatedly checked his pulse several times and found that there was no problem. She even nervously invited several imperial physicians to diagnose him, and the results were naturally the same as her own diagnosis. Even Kai Chi couldn't help but laugh at her. Crown Princess, if you can't diagnose the problem, do you think those ordinary physicians can? She actually understood this simple logic, but she had done it inadvertently. When baby Mo comes out, she must tell her child how much she, as his mother, worried about him. Crown Princess. Kai Chi stood at the side with clean clothes and asked curiously, This servant wants to ask you a question. If you have something to ask, just ask. Why are you hesitating? Little Crown Princess took a towel to wipe her face and replied casually, Yes, that's the one. Kai Chi asked with a face full of curiosity. Crown Prince Consort, your medical skills are so brilliant. Then, can you diagnose whether the baby is a little imperial grandson or a little imperial grandson? The little princess. Arbor frowned. He put down the wet towel and pretended to sigh. I really can't diagnose it. Deep down, she was curious as well. He had used his inner vision many times, wanted to take a look at baby Mo's appearance. Unfortunately, the only thing he could see with his inner vision was that it was enveloped in a cloud of white mist. He couldn't see anything. She was depressed for a while and felt a little conflicted. It was so difficult to see the child. Kaishio glanced at her. What's the hurry? Won't we know once the child is born? In any case, regardless of whether it was a boy or a girl, it would definitely be a smart and healthy baby. His Majesty and the Empress are looking forward to it. Kai-Chi stuck out her tongue and nodded mischievously. That's true. Wimmet, Lord Guang exclaimed as he squeezed in from outside. I see the red sun hanging high in the sky. The weather is very good. This seed has been born for so long, but I have never gone out for a stroll. Today, shouldn't you be a guide and bring this seed out for a stroll? Kaishio's mouth twitched. Kai-Chi rolled up her sleeves with a grin. Chapter 52-34. As soon as Guang sees her action, he immediately takes a step back and forcefully beckons with his two small hands. A few heads immediately appear behind him. The little monk calls out, Ba, benefactress. Call me mother. Arbor expressionlessly puts down the fine-toothed comb in her hand and turns her head to correct the little monk. The round-headed and plump little monk smacks his small mouth and looks at her with a bit of embarrassment. His cheeks are red and tender. After smacking his lips for a long time, he sneakily calls out, Mother, mother. Arbor suddenly feels that his little appearance is like a thief, which is a bit comical and laughable. She curls her lips and beckons him over. The little baldy immediately rolls over. His chubby little arms and legs rush in front of her like a whirlwind. She patted his optical head. Don't hang out with weird people all the time. Although that person's head is bald like you, it doesn't mean that he's a vegetarian monk like you. The little monk immediately nods his head and repeatedly complains. Guang secretly drank wine yesterday. Drinking wine and eating meat, he's really not cut out to be a monk. With this interruption, Guang Darren immediately forgets what he wanted to say to the woman. He jumps up and angrily shouts, Who wants to be a monk like you? Who told you that I'm a monk? Inexplicable. This family is really inexplicable. Crown Prince and Crown Princess are not normal. Mo, who is in soul state, is also not normal. Little monkey, little monk, and so on are all abnormal. Other than Guang Darren, there are no normal people here. Arbor takes out a carrot and feeds it to the little monk. Where do you want to go to play? Let's go shopping. The little monk's eyes are sparkling. Ba. Although this little monk doesn't like shopping, I can accompany mother to go out for a walk. Kaishio almost faints from this little imp smile. With that serious little appearance, he doesn't like shopping? Wherever there's a lively atmosphere, that's exactly what they're talking about. It's been a long time since we went to Kai-Dai Pavilion to eat. How about I take you to Kai-Dai Pavilion for a meal? Everyone raises their hands and feet in agreement. No matter where they went, it was better than being cooped up in the house. Kaishio took the clothes handed to her by the maidservants and helped Arbor put them on. Then she said with a smile, His Highness the Crown Prince left the city early this morning. If His Highness were here, he would be able to accompany the Crown Princess out for a walk. Yeah, today's weather's really good. All right, it's already noon. What's the point of going for a walk? Forget it. Besides, the cold wind was howling, and it was almost the end of the year. It was better to wait until spring came before going for a stroll. Female benefactor. Arbor raised his hand and pinched Kong's little face. You have to call me mother. If you call me mother again, I'll beat you up. Lord Guang hurriedly squeezed to the little monk's side and slandered. Look, this mother of yours likes to use violence to make people submit. Xiao Sung Ah Pui. Guang Darren had also been beaten by her before. Kong took advantage of the fact that he was half a head taller than Sir Guang and looked down from above. He raised his hand and patted Sir Guangguang's bald head. Ba. Children should be obedient. Nyangqin hitting you is also a kind of expression of love. What? Sir Guangguang almost fainted from anger because of the little monk. What the hell? Does this child know how to speak? Also, what kind of action was that just now? That action of patting his head, he did it so skillfully. Chapter 52-35. Holy shit. I'm a 10,000-year-old senior, yet I'm being touched on the head by a 5-year-old. Does it have to be so ridiculous? Arbor put on a thick cloak and looked at herself in a mirror. She raised her hand to pinch her face. I've gotten fat. Master, last time, Crown Prince already said that you've gotten so fat that you look like a ball. The little treant jumped onto her shoulder and said, You've realized it yourself, haven't you? Arbor looked at him expressionlessly. What did I realize? I realized. Chio, you like to jump around so much. No wonder Jojo's lotus threw you out again and again. Master, Chio looked at his little master gloomily. You love Crown Prince more than Chio. Arbor was speechless. She pulled the 2 tender leaves on top of his head. All right, I'll take you out with me. The little treant danced on Arbor's head and shouted, Is there anything fun? Is there anything fun? Yes, there's a shadow play troupe that came to the capital recently. They have 5 shadow plays every day. Really? The little monkey was also energized when he heard this. He ran up and asked, What play? What play? 5 plays a day, and each play is different. You'll only know what to play when you go. Arbor couldn't help but laugh. Seeing the group in high spirits, she agreed to take them to eat first, then to watch the shadow play. Everyone went out noisily. Since they weren't in a hurry, they simply got into a carriage and headed towards Changle Street in a lively manner. After leaving the Eastern Palace, Arbor hesitated for a moment. She lifted the curtain and looked outside, her eyes narrowed. What's wrong, Crown Princess? Nothing. Arbor lowered the curtain, a cold smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. If she hadn't sensed wrongly just now, then someone was secretly watching the Eastern Palace gate. What were they watching for? Arbor raised a small hand and gently touched his stomach. At the same time, 2 men dressed as passers-by, standing guard outside the Eastern Palace, looked at each other. One of them lowered his voice and said, Hurry up and inform them. Our people haven't acted according to plan, and the Crown Princess has already come out. The other person nodded and then laughed in a low voice. Isn't that just right? It saves us a lot of trouble. Originally, he still had to think about how to reasonably lure the little Crown Princess out of the depths of the palace. He might even have to make a trip to the Qiao estate. But now, everything was going smoothly. This was a good start. It seemed like there was hope for today's matter to succeed. Crown Princess, your cultivation is much higher than ours. Was there something watching us in the dark just now? Kaichi asked in a low voice in the carriage. Her expression was grave. Don't worry. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Whoever comes looking for trouble won't have a good ending. Kaichi's heart calmed down a little. Speaking of which, there really wasn't anyone in this world who could escape unscathed after provoking the little Crown Princess. Arbor smiled and called out, Yuba. A black shadow appeared at the window of the carriage, and a low voice sounded. Crown Princess, what are your orders? Is there any movement in front of the Qiao estate? Just now, my subordinates sent word that there were hidden sentries watching the Qiao estate, but now they've all retreated. Chapter 52-37. The shadow guards swung their swords down without hesitation, flipping the carriage over with a few strikes. At this time, people were coming and going on the street, and it was quite lively. Seeing this situation, the crowd dodged to the sides. The crowd looked up and saw that the roofs of the 2 carriages beside them had been blown off. Pieces of wood fell down, and there was a hurried scream from the carriage. Then, the 2 people in the carriage flipped out. The first to stumble out was a handsome young man. His movements were quite vigorous. When he turned around, he wrapped his arms around a young lady who had rolled out behind him and caught her in his arms. The 2 of them hugged each other in public with their skin touching. The one hugging was naturally Gui Xuan, and the one in his arms was Mu Xiaoxue. Guishuan hugged Mu Xiaoxue. His blood was boiling as he hugged his beloved junior sister. He spun around in the air before landing on the ground beautifully. At this time, the carriage and arbor had already stopped. The passers-by also hid at the side and stopped to watch. Seeing this scene, many aunts and uncles couldn't help but point at Guishuan and Mu Xiaoxue, who were hugging each other and whispered in secret. Although the laws between men and women were not that strict in China, no well-educated girl would hug a man on the street. "This is indecent," a middle-aged woman said with a twitch of her mouth. "Isn't that so? Look at her dress. She's a girl. How can she casually hug a man like this?" Everyone was cursing and scolding as they surrounded the carriage and pointed at it. Mu Xiaoxue only felt flustered and hurriedly pushed Guishuan. "Senior brother Gu, let me down first." Guishuan was originally restless, but when he heard Mu Xiaoxue's words and saw the disdainful looks of the ignorant people around him, he didn't dare to act rashly and quickly let go of Mu Xiaoxue's hand. Mu Xiaoxue hurriedly tidied her clothes, coughed lightly, and turned her head. Her eyes met with the little crown princess's cold and heartless dark eyes in the carriage. His eyes were as deep as the abyss, staring at her without blinking. His emotionless appearance made Mu Xiaoxue shudder violently. Stay calm. You must stay calm." Recalling what family head Qin had asked her to do, Mu Xiaoxue repeatedly warned herself. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. Yes, he had to be calm. He couldn't be afraid, and he couldn't retreat. Mu Xiaoxue, had no way out. Where could he retreat to? The luck transfer talisman was still waiting for him. He absolutely could not retreat. Retreating was a fate worse than death. Mu Xiaoxue took a step forward, organized her words, and put on a stiff smile. "My daughter, Mu Xiaoxue, greets the crown princess." As soon as these words were spoken, the people on the streets and alleys almost fled. The little crown princess was here. Some of the commoners who had never seen the little crown princess before were all muttering in their hearts. Even if they hadn't seen the crown princess before, her great name was like thunder in their ears. The little crown princess's ruthless methods and her ruthlessness were also widely known among the commoners. There was even a saying among the commoners that no one should look at the crown princess. They firmly remembered this saying. When they saw the crown princess, what they should do was run. Some of the commoners hurriedly covered their heads and ran. However, when they ran to the end of the street, they bumped into the barrier. Chapter 52:38. Can't get out? Why? Why is there a barrier here? Everyone retreated in confusion. Is this the legendary risking one's life to watch a show? The little crown princess didn't know what happened to these strange people. She only stared coldly at Mu Xiaoxue for a long time. She slowly opened her mouth and said coldly, "Are you here to die today?" On the other side, Qi Xianxian and Jolin were strolling along Changle Street, picking out little sugar figurines from a candy stall. "What's going on? Why is there a barrier here?" Qi Xianxian turned around and walked a few steps. She frowned and reached out to touch the air in front of her. A ripple of water flowed in front of her. A barrier really appeared where she touched. "Wow, what's going on? What's going on?" Shaolin pinched two little sugar figurines and ran to Qi Xuanxuan's side. She happened to see the two people shaking their heads dejectedly as they turned around. "Hey, stop. What are you two doing?" Jolin stopped them out of curiosity. The two people sighed and said, "You must have realized that we can't get out now. We are forced to go back and watch the crown princess." Sigh. The other person had the word listless written all over his body. "Are you forcing us to risk our lives to watch the show?" "Actually, we don't want to watch, but we can't get out now. What else can we do but watch?" Shaolin couldn't help but twitch her mouth. "Uncle, you actually really want to watch this show, right? Why are you speaking so pitifully? Actually, you don't have to go back. You could just stand here. This kind of barrier will disappear on its own in 2 to 4 hours." The two of them rubbed their noses in embarrassment when their thoughts were exposed. "What?" Qi Xianxian was stunned. "Where's the crown princess? Isn't she at the entrance of Kai Dai Pavilion? She's surrounded by so many people. One of the uncle pointed forward and said kindly, "Two young ladies, you are still young. It's best that you don't risk your lives to watch the show." Chi Xuanxuan's eyebrows twitched. She turned her head and waved at her friends who were dozing off on the doorstep. Fatty, Mata, Luyu, come over quickly." The little fatty, Ko Hongwan, immediately jumped up and ran to Xian's side. "Wife, what orders do you have? Do I have to pay for it?" Here. Give you a head." Amused, Xian patted his arm and said, "Someone has secretly blocked off the road to Changle Street. I reckon they have set up barriers on both the front and back streets. They seem to be targeting Jojo." "What? Who would be so bold as to secretly mess with our Jojo?" Ko Hongwen was furious. His other friends who were slowly walking overheard him and immediately gathered around. "What happened? Let's go and take a look at the entrance of the Kai-Dai Pavilion. Where's Jojo?" "Jojo has arrived at Kai-Dai Pavilion." Chi Xian nodded. She wrapped up the few sweets in her hands and shouted, "Fatty, pay up." Then, she led her group of friends and angrily ran towards the entrance of Kai-Dai Pavilion. Who will be so bold as to cause trouble for their Jojo? They must be tired of living. "That's good too." Mata stretched his limbs and said cheekily, "I haven't moved since I came out of seclusion. Today, I should be able to find someone to loosen up my muscles." Chapter 52:39. Who would have thought that Mu Xiaoxue would be the one to barge in? She had been worried that she wouldn't be able to find her mother, and now she had delivered herself to her doorstep. Arbor sneered, a cold glint flashing across his eyes. Since she had delivered herself to her doorstep, then he would reluctantly teach her a lesson on behalf of Mu Qingya. Arbor glanced behind him, and two shadow guards rushed forward, about to attack Mu Xiaoxue. Gu Yishuan quickly stepped in front of Mu Xiaoxue and pointed his sword at the two shadow guards, shouting, "Stop!" How could the two shadow guards listen to him? They glanced at the sword in his hand with disdain. One of the shadow guards didn't move, but the sword in Gu Yishuan's hand suddenly caught fire. The fire burned up his arm in an instant. Gu Yishuan was so frightened that he hurriedly threw his sword to the ground and patted his sleeves. Everyone only heard a clang sound. He looked down and saw that the sword had been melted by the bright yellow fire, leaving only half of the sword hilt. It crackled under the sparks from time to time. Everyone was stunned and looked up at Gu Yishuan, whose face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Mu Xiaoxue only felt a trace of anger rush up to her chest. Damn it, he really knew how to embarrass himself. What use could he have if he couldn't even hold his own sword? He was no different from that Zhao Yi. They were all trash, useless trash, useless trash. Mu Xiaoxue was furious, but she still had to put on that elegant and refined smile on her face. "Senior Brother Gu, don't get into a conflict with the Crown Princess. It's just a small misunderstanding between us. It'll be fine as long as we clear things up." Mu Xiaoxue called out softly and gave Gu Yishuan a gentle push. Gu Yishuan hurried down the slope and muttered, "Little junior sister, you're so kind. You could talk to her." Mu Xiaoxue clenched her fists in anger and coldly watched the man retreat behind her. She cursed Gu Yishuan's 18 generations of ancestors in her heart. Unexpectedly, among the onlookers, a middle-aged woman laughed. "Haha, young man, I advise you to go back quickly. If you want to learn how to be a hero and save a damsel in distress, then you need to have real ability." "Exactly," everyone chattered and laughed. "You can't even last one move in front of our crown prince consort subordinate. Young man, don't try to show off. Hurry and take your whatever junior sister and scram with your tail between your legs." Everyone burst into laughter. This was the scene that Chi Xian saw when she pulled Shaolin over. He could not help but ask curiously, what's wrong with these people? Why do they all seem to be on Jojo's side?" Little fatty Ko Hongwen couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He muttered softly, "We have to help even if we don't want to. Our family's Qiao isn't a good person. If they don't help her and get beaten up, no one can save them." "What are you talking about?" Chi Xian immediately raised her voice. She hated it the most when people said that her family's Qiao was tough, not even little fatty. Her family Xiao was the most kind-hearted little fairy in the world. There was a soft spot in her heart. Umph. She was not the fierce little devil that people said she was. Little Fatty hurriedly chuckled. Ah, nothing, nothing. I'm just saying that Jojo is very pretty. Look from afar, Jojo's stomach is so big. Do you think it's a twin? That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.